children that they need nothing exterior to themselves to be happy. No person, place, or thing. And that true happiness is found within. Teach them that they are sufficient unto themselves. Teach them this, and you will have taught them grandly. Teach your children that failure is a fiction, that every trying is a success, and that every effort is what achieves the victory. The first, no less honorable than the last. Teach them this, and you will have taught them grandly. Teach your children that they are deeply connected to all of life, that they are one with all people, and that they are never separate from God. Teach them this, and you will have taught them grandly. Teach your children that they live in a world of magnificent abundance, that there is enough for everyone, and that it is in sharing the most, not in gathering the most is received. Teach them this, and you will have taught them grandly. Teach your children that there is nothing that they are required to be or to do to be eligible for a life of dignity and fulfillment, that they need not compete with anyone for anything, and that God's blessings are meant for everyone. Teach them this, and you will have taught them grandly.
Teach your children that they will never be judged, that they need not worry about always getting it right, and that they do not have to change anything or get better to be seen as perfect and beautiful in the eyes of God. Teach them this, and you will have taught them grandly. Teach your children that consequences and punishment are not the same thing, that death does not exist, and that God would never condemn anyone. Teach them this, and you will have taught them grandly. Teach your children that there are no conditions to love, that they need not worry about ever losing your love or God's, and that their own love, unconditionally shared, is the greatest gift they can give to the world. Teach them this, and you will have taught them grandly. Teach your children that being special does not mean being better, that claiming superiority over someone is not seeing them for who they really are, and that there is great healing in acknowledging mine is not a better way, mine is merely another way. Teach them this, and you will have taught them grandly. Teach your children that there is nothing they cannot do, that the illusion of ignorance can be eradicated from the earth, and that all anyone really needs is to be given back to themselves by being reminded of who they really are. Teach them this, and you will have taught them grandly. Teach these things not with your words, but with your actions, not with discussion, but with demonstration. For it is not what you do that your children will emulate, but how you are that they will become.
Thought-provoking, always smoking, lyrics like a bazooka. You are listening to Mutabaruka.
With Mutabaruka, we are listening to our elements. You know here, continent, the edge, the edge.
Yeah, good night. This is the Cutting Edge on RFM, and next Wednesday we're in July, the 7th month. We're there with you to really go through the pieces. You don't want to miss this program at the night, you know, believe you me, especially 11 o'clock. Put on that time there, you know. Go and go sleep until 11, or just take some matches, stick a hole up your eye till 11. You don't want to miss what we're going to play at 11 o'clock. Believe you me. Say, me guarantee you tonight that where we are going to play at 11 o'clock, when you go to your bed tonight, you go and think till you can't think no more. Believe you me, it's not only enlightening but distressing. So, we want you stick around. Yeah, man, stick around. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, Papa. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, Mama. Oh yeah, waka waka baby. Oh yeah, wuru wuru baby. Oh yeah, mago mago baby. Oh yeah, chuku chuku baby. Oh yeah, I go tell mama. Oh yeah, number one radio station in the whole wide world. Wuru wuru baby. Mago mago baby. Oh yeah, kona kona baby. If you notice, we are getting enough African music on Cutting Edge again. Yeah, you know, the Cutting Edge was known for what we call it, exposing a lot of African music on radio. Up to now, we still not seeing no radio station expose the people them to authentic African music by any radio station. Yeah, if you don't listen to Irie, you might not hear no music we make on the continent of Africa. Believe you me, everything I come from America, England. 98% of the people them in Jamaica is of African stock. I will get exposed to so much things.
Well, you know, so we there now for kind of change up the whole perspective and perception of things. So we feature music from the continent. Right now you listen to West African music. And them tune you play a party when you go like Ghana and them places. Big party. You see people and move them hip and them waist. May I tell you? Yes, hey, you know, we see a new face in the studio. We're not used to that new face, you know. I missed the last week in the studio, you know. What's your name again? Eh? DL? VN? We can't hear good headphone. Go on. DN? Oh, you in the studio with the last go around stepping razor. So you're there, them lowers and night, man. You no pass through. You don't look like you pass through. You cock up your foot and so you're a big chair at the studio. You don't pass through, Bridget. Is either him and I swear I go on in the studio, I don't know. No, Brian, we don't understand this.
You see people are dancing.
You see people are dancing, they never usually dancing in there. So we don't know where I go on. Alright. We soon find out. You know, all the people who turn out of the Turkey River Park there, you know, believe you me, it was a wonderful Sunday. Here, Dr. Sebe in person. I talk about food, simple food. Why, you know, I want him lady for really bring Dr. Sebe to Jamaica. As simple as they take it, it was a historical moment because the first Dr. Sebe will come to Jamaica. Even though him have a kind of roots in a Jamaica, but you know him set up himself in Honduras, and him is one of the herbal doctors where has proven that certain things that them say can get better, get rid of certain disease. Them say you can't get rid of, get better. Him is one of them who get it rid of it. As a matter of fact, his proof was tested in the Supreme Court of America when them draft him up to say him have false allegation, but he was making false pronouncements that him can heal this and cure that, and guess what? Him win at the Supreme Court level. So that's a joke thing when you say Dr. Sebe come to Jamaica. So why you look the one them who bring him here and who tell you say him I come forward. He love Jamaica, man. After the program we go check him and him sit down there and I say, boy, Jamaica is something else. And him not go nowhere, you know. I just between the park and the hotel, don't carry hotel there, you know. You know, but for that joke aside, you know, you see that place where them call Carib Hotel there. I mean, I advertise the place still, you know. Even though the same people, them own the same people, but you see that hotel there, you say that you open the door them to the veranda outside one at the back there. Trust me, man, any tourist to that, man, suppose you don't really want to go back which part you come from. And I feel it's that like Dr. Sebe too. Because him not go nowhere, more than drive from the airport to the hotel to the park and back to the hotel. And he must say, oh, he love Jamaica. But it's the feelings of the people them. The feelings of the people them also help to really make people say, wow, Jamaica is like paradise, man. The people them not feel say it's paradise still, you know. But foreigners believe say it's paradise because the greetings and the warmth of the people them. And plus, when you look outside of your hotel room, you see this blue turquoise beach and sun and rock and... I tell you, man, it's like the same place where you never talk about in the Bible. Eden, Garden of Eden. When Christopher Columbus come to Jamaica and him land at this, well, him never land nowhere, you know. You know, Christopher Columbus never come on the island, yeah? No, him say them friend them, but the priests will come with him, you know, right in the memoir say, and I quote it directly, but this is the idea where him say. Him say, when he write in the memoir, him say, look here, man, you see him like how you think on the Garden of Eden in the Bible, it's like he's eat this. When them land here, that them see them eat this. Unfortunately, them never see it as no Garden of Eden, the soldier them, because them never treat the Taino them right. Did you know that Christopher Columbus and them friend they were looking for gold in a Jamaica, and one of the punishment for not bringing back gold was chopping off one of your hand them. So only Taino did a walk on the place with one hand, you know, because you know find no gold. Because that was the thing. Him promised the seal of them, where them take out of the prison, them take out all the murderer them and the pedophiles and the thief them and all the Bryans out of the prison and promise them gold and land. 3 ship put a man, you know. We never did want to travel with him, you know, but true promise them gold and land. Them say them prefer they on the ship and travel than sit down in the jail them in Spain. When the man them come on here, them never knows about the gold them there. So them did have to find people who dip on the land to find the gold for them. You know much one anti, you know, the dip on the island, yeah? Yeah, man, it's a terrible thing. Terrible thing the man them do. But we'll continue the journey. Continue the journey. When I listen to this, you know, so we'll play this. Play it right now.
When I look at Africa, many questions come to mind. Many times I ask myself, what would happen if Mwalimu were to rise up and see what is happening? Many times I ask myself, what would happen if Kwame Nkrumah and Patrice Emery Lumumba were to rise up and see what is happening? Because what they would be confronted with is an Africa where the Democratic Republic of Congo is unsettled. There is a war going on there, but it is not on the front pages of our newspapers, because we don't even control our newspapers and the media. As I speak to you, the Central African Republic is at war, but we talk of it only mutedly. As I speak to you now, in South Sudan, the youngest nation in Africa, the Nuer have risen against the Dinka. As I speak to you now, Eritrea is unsettled. As I speak to you now, there is an ease in Egypt as there is an ease in Libya. In Niger it is no better. In Senegal, in the Casamance is no better. In Somalia is no better. Africa is at war with herself. This is what they would be confronted with. They would be confronted with an Africa which statisticians and romantic economists say is growing, but which in truth is stagnated. That is the Africa that they would be confronted with. They would be confronted with an African which, as Professor Mlama intimated in our presentation here, is an African which is suffering from schizophrenia. He does not know herself. They would be confronted with an African whose young men and women have no interest and low love for their continent. They would be confronted with an Africa where young men and young women are constantly humiliated at the embassies of European countries and at the United States of America as they seek the almighty green card. They would be confronted with an Africa where young men and women from Niger, Nigeria, Senegal, Mali, and Mauritania drown in the Mediterranean as they seek to be enslaved in Europe. This time round, Africans are not wailing and kicking as they are being taken away to be enslaved. They are being seen wailing and kicking as they seek to be enslaved in Europe and America. This is the tragedy of Africa. They'll be confronted with an African where people have lost their self-pride.
This is the cutting edge, and I refer me there with you. So we'll continue the journey with that. Yeah, play this bridge in here, you know. Yeah.
With an Africa where young men and women from Niger, Nigeria, Senegal, Mali, and Mauritania drown in the Mediterranean as they seek to be enslaved in Europe. This time round, Africans are not wailing and kicking as they are being taken away to be enslaved. They are being seen wailing and kicking as they seek to be enslaved in Europe and America. This is the tragedy of Africa. They'll be confronted with an African where people have lost their self-pride. An Africa where Africans are not proud of their things. An Africa where in the hotels of Dar es Salaam or Nairobi, even food has foreign names. When we fry potatoes, we call them French fries, even when they are fried in Dar es Salaam. That is the Africa that they would be confronted with. They would be confronted with another Africa. An Africa which does not tell her story. An Africa whose story is told by Europe and America, the CNN, Radio Deutsche Welle, Radio France. That is the Africa they would be confronted with. They would be confronted with the young men and women who have no pride in Africa. When they want to enjoy themselves, they sing the praises of football teams from Europe and America. It is Manchester United. It is Arsenal. It is Real Madrid and Barcelona, not Yanga, not Mufulira Wanderers, not Gor Mahia, not FC Leopards. No. That is the Africa that they would be confronted with. They would be confronted with an Africa which does not enjoy theater and drama. That Africa celebrates Leonardo DiCaprio. It celebrates Angelina Jolie and Brad Pitt. The Africa does not celebrate Genevieve Naji of Nigeria or Rita Dominic or Lou Jacobs of Nigeria. It does not celebrate Bongo Wood or Nollywood or Riverwood. It celebrates Hollywood. That is the Africa with which they would be confronted. They would be confronted with African women whose greatest source of joy is cheap grade B Mexican soap opera, La Patrona, La Mujer de mi Vida, The Rich Also Cry. Why must we remind ourselves of these realities? Because throughout the ages, the battle has always been the battle of the mind. And if your mind is conquered, then you are going nowhere. And that is why in the ages of enlightenment in Europe, the great René Descartes said, cogito ergo sum, I think, therefore I am. And therefore, if Africans are to begin to make a contribution in their affairs, Africans must begin to think. But the question is, are we thinking? We have universities in their numbers. Tanzania has universities including Dar es Salaam. Nairobi has universities. as indeed Kampala, as indeed South Africa, Johannesburg. We have all these universities. We have engineers. But our roads are not being made by Tanzanian civil engineers. It is the Chinese who are present in this assembly who are making our roads. So we have engineers who cannot even make roads. We have doctors whom we have trained. But when we are sick, particularly if we are of the political class, depending on who colonized you, if you are colonized by the United Kingdom, you rush to London. If you are colonized by the French, you rush to Paris. If you are colonized by the Portuguese, you rush to Lisbon. And if you are colonized by the Spaniards, you rush to Madrid, Spain. And recently, because the Asians are beginning to get their act together, we run to India. And very lately, because the Arabs are also beginning to get their act together, we run to Dubai. Notwithstanding that we have the Kenyatta hostels of this country, the Muhimbilis of Tanzania, the Chris Hani Baragwanaths of South Africa, and the Mama Yemos of Kinshasa in Zaire or the Democratic Republic of Congo, but we have no faith in our doctors. In the area of education, we also don't have faith. Our political class introduced something that they call free education, but it's free indeed, free of knowledge. Because they are so suspicious of those institutions that the typical African politician would not dare take their children to those schools. Their children will be educated in the British system, in the American system, so that when they graduate, they go to the United Kingdom, to the United States. Not that there is anything wrong with those institutions, but the agenda is wrong because our leaders long lost the script and ought to be described for who they are, our misleaders. But we are co-authors of our own misfortune. Whenever we are given an opportunity to elect our leaders, we are given a blank check. And if you permit me a little latitude, and if you give me a blank check, and you allow me to analogize, and you say that I'm given the blank check to buy a Mercedes-Benz, what we do is that when we are called upon, having been so empowered, we buy what one calls a tuk-tuk from India and expect it to behave like a Mercedes-Benz. How does that happen? Because what we do is to elect thieves. We elect hyenas to take care of goats, and when the goats are consumed, we wonder why.
Thought-provoking, always smoking, lyrics like a bazooka. You are listening to Mutabaruka.
No, that tape we just play a while ago, we're going to play a version to it at 11 o'clock. Totally different, but almost I deal with the same themes. You're going to be surprised. Trust me, you're going to be surprised. Brand new music from Third World. Doing over Abyssinian song again.
Let him be praised continually. Kibula amla imaskan. Glory to Jah, let him be praised. He will take us by the hand and lead us to the wonderland. Can't be good, we'll be careful and do the best that we can. Kibula amlak imaskan.
I tell you, man, a music. You know, when you music, I talk about people like Al Brian now and most young people out there. I don't know when you music. Listen to this. Is a man that play the guitar, and is a man that play the bass, and is a man that play the drums. Not pure machine. Even though them I use machine, but this man I use the machine in a way where them call musical artistic. Musicians we are talking about. Musicians. Jamaica seem to have moved from musicians. Most of the music them is one man sitting in a studio. Don't know not about music, but him can hear still. And they make the music like the music them when did hear before, you know. And the one them when did hear before they totally off. But because him don't know thing more than the machine, him just suit him vibes with the machine and call 10 man to sing on the same rhythm. And then it just get big. And then now him become ambassador for Jamaica. And go around the world and make millions and come buy BMW. And whatsoever them are buying nowadays. And get all of the girls them. And have selfie. And Galaxy X6 and 10. And have hood over them head. I saw the place go though. I saw it go. The thing gone. But we not run with it. We not run go to it. No man, we have become it. Yes. It's anything we gone, make it go on, you know. But we have become it. Fab 5 and Queen Africa. Brand new music.
Acapella. Ooh. Fab 5 and Africa, yeah. Ooh. Acapella. Down. Fab 5 and Queen Africa. All about love. It's all about love. Love. All about love. Some people say love is a many splendid thing. It makes some of them want go put on ring. But to play, weekend vibes, the sensation is the most amazing thing. It lifts you up, it tears you down. Still without it there is no meaning. And every time it comes around, you open up just to let it in. Then you tell yourself, after this you will never love again. Whoa, then you love again, and you love you could never love enough. Tainted heart, broken hearts, hearts glowing like lights above pyramids, like Mars attracting Venus, so fabulous. It's all about love. It's all about love. Love, all about love, New love is great, but old love is the greatest. Love that never dies, love throughout the ages. Loving me, loving you was beautiful as flowers kissed by dew. Shoo-be-doo-de-doo, love that mesmerizes, love that clarifies, that sparkle in your eyes. When it comes to you and me, baby, it is the glue in our lives, you see. I can tell you this, one thing is for sure. It's all about love. It's all about love. All about love. Yeah. It's all about
You are listening to Mutabaruka.
Listen to what I represent. Welcome to me. You better know.
Yeah, man, I tell you a different style. Doo-wop style. Jazz clicking style. Sweet, man, sweet. Fab 5 and Queen Africa.
It lifts you up, it tears you down. Still without it there is no meaning. So every time it comes around, you open up just to let it in. Then you tell yourself, after this you will never love again. Whoa,
brother named Kenny Winner here, same car last week, here in Parade. Kenny Winner, outside England. Antigua Relay. Brother named Kenny Winner. This is the Cutting Edge on RFM. Yeah, that tune there, sweet. Yeah, man, that tune there, sweet. It have everyone at the studio move. Believe you me. All right, you know where I say so now, because it really weird that since they killing of the 9 people in the church, that after that 7 black church get burned down, and they want to blame it on lightning. When I tell you, say, I bet a white man burn down your church and God lick it with lightning, you know, believe you me, because that's something dangerously wrong. If God love him church and he lick it with lightning, I burn it down. I bet a white man burn down your church and lightning. You think God joke? You can't imagine me have a church and lightning lick it, man. Would I go to my bed and I wonder, Lord, is what me do? Or who in my church we should have run? Is that serious thing, you know, because no, you know what, pray to God and God just lick you with a lightning, Rasta. You understand? Imagine you give your life to God and you devote it to God. And you still like you also watch TV and lightning just come here and lick you. No, Rasta. I'm burn down your house. No, sir, I bet a white man come burn down your house, here. Trust me. Because me expect it of them to do it, but me don't expect God to burn down my house to be a pray to him, so man. No, boy, I tell you, but It's a weird thing. It's a weird thing, you know. The people must say lightning, but no, the other seven church, you know. Lightning just take church. It's just like in the space of a week. In the space of a week, you know. Like you would kill the people them at the church, you know, and 1 week, in that space of that week, they go right down, you know. A black church burned down. No, sir. And them say a lightning. When the people them have the news report say a lightning, and some people have said lightning. What lightning? What you talk about lightning? You know, see, some people, a whole heap of people want to believe say some white supremacists do it. A whole heap of people, black people, want to believe that some white supremacists burn it down. A whole heap of people believe say, boy, God know where my door with them lightning them. Them say lightning lick it down. A whole heap of people want to believe say it's false, what is bad wiring. But I mean, check it. Not coincidental at all. But I mean, if one thing is the same, one of the same thing is one thing, you know, but two of the same thing and three of the same thing, seven of the same thing happen. No, Rasta, believe you me, would have to go check it. Would have to go really check out my life, myself, all who they around me, all the animals they want me see around me, goat, sheep, lizard, I mean anything. Would have to go check it out around me. Because I can't even perceive that in my thinking. Say, I am a devoted person to the Lord. I go to church every Sunday and I pay my tithes. And I pull my tithes too. And I do all sorts of things with my tithes. And really and truly, after me I live so, me love everybody, me love my next door neighbor. You know, me love my next door neighbor. Till sometime him wife come over my yard, come stay. You know, be like, it just mind-boggling, Rasta. It's mind-boggling. That you do all the good things them. You know, and then not even like a wire, each one and next wire on board now with a lightning from nowhere to the sky. Come burn down yours. No, sir. Me I drive a while ago and I think on it, you know. Yeah, man, me I drive a while ago and I think on it and I say, this is when it's a belief. This is when you believe something. This is what we call faith. Faith come like almost a distraction from reality, you know. Yeah, it's like when the faithful is so hopeful that them hopeful in a sense a kind of madness. It's like a madness. You believe in a something and you hope that something like happen, but not in your lifetime, not the lifetime before you see that something that happen where you believe in it. And then you add something else to it and I say, well, right, nobody know when it gonna happen. Just watch and pray. And you sit down and see generations come before you and it's something where you are saying gonna happen with them, did I say gonna happen with the other people, this say gonna happen, not happen. And you feel saying in your lifetime it gonna happen. Well, I mean, I tell you, it's like these ideas, you know, well, it's a long time. I drive and I think so much, you know, it come like, it's a serious thing. I think the whole time I come, but I think upon all these ISIL people, them, and the Taliban, and George Bush, and Obama, and all these people who give credence to a religion to the point where them will fight the next person because of a religious belief. Because believe it or not, Bush should have fight a religious war. You know, see, Bush should have fight a religious war. But even me I say no. The ISIL and the Taliban people them and the Al Qaeda people them who give credence to a religion. And when you look on the three major religions, them, you know, you talk about Judaism, Islam, Christianity, Islam. The three major religions, them in the West, so. Most of the war them fighting in the world. It's them three set of people that fight the war. Or start the war, or end the war. Most of the war them fighting in the world. Judaism, and you see we are going now with Israel. in the Palestinian people them land. Christianity versus Islam. Islam say them are the true religion. And you know the funniest part, the weirdest part of the thing, you know. The three of them have them genesis in a one man. The three religion them, Judaism, Christianity and Islam, the three of them have them beginning in a one man. And that is Abraham. And then it reach a stage where these three things, these three so-called religious beliefs are come from one man who claim that there is some supernatural being that are guiding him. So these three people, these three groups supposed to worship the one supernatural being, you know. Then me don't know if it's mad me mad or crazy me crazy, but if me I look on the earth here right now, I mean these three set of people, these three group create the most war and kill the most people per earth. I mean literally. The most people were dead. Dead in the name of one of these religions. From time it was created, from Judaism was created. Where Judah is in the name of Yahweh and thing, you must go in our city. And if the people them, it's a weird thing, you know. If the people them, when you go in our city, if the people them don't believe in the God where you believe in kill the mother, the father, the picnic, dog them and burn down the city. And that the book say, you know. And that the book say. Let's talk about the three major religions now, you know. The first one, what them call Judaism. The God of that Judaism. Tell the people them say. Tell the warrior them say. The judges say, look here. You see if them people over there so not believe in the God where you believe in, which is the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Abraham, why you do? You go and go raid them. You go and go kill them picnic. Kill them wife. Kill them animals and burn down the city. And next one come and say, God tell him so when they go into the city, must kill all of the man them. This is weird, you know. Kill all of the man them, and if you want woman, take them for yourself. That is what this next prophet of Israel, God tell him to do, you know. God come again and he must say, let my people go. Him tell Moses, well, we don't know if it's who did attack to Moses, because it come like Moses did smoke too much ganja. Because him have a tree attack to him in the book. Maybe it's a ganja tree too, I don't know. But yeah, maybe it's a ganja tree and two Moses never used to smoke. And him stammer. When he sent the smoke, him start to hear a sort of voices that come out of the bush. Moses, take off your shoes. Because where the place where you stand it, Musa used to walk there. Yeah, that's a serious thing. But three religion, you have wars, more wars and wars. And all them win, like God tell them, say, look, I said the land over there, so, flowing with milk and honey, go and go kill all the people, them and take the land there. You see them people over there, so them don't believe in your God, kill them. This is Judaism. They will come down to Islam. Islam wreak havoc over the place, even through Africa. The belief in this Islamic thinking. Well, we shall talk about Christianity first, second. Because Christianity, I think them say Christianity come after Judaism, then you have Islam is the youngest one. But Christianity come in the name of Jesus. The amount of things we're going on in Europe, one of the biggest atrocity in the world ever say is chattel slavery. In the name of the God and the Pope of Rome. This well, not even the Pope of Rome neither, you know, because the British come out of the Anglican Church. The Anglican Church sanctified and justified slavery. The Anglican Church, not an individual. Because them man never said nothing wrong with slavery, because the Bible tells us that slaves must be obedient to their master. Slaves must be obedient to their master. And that Christian book say. The Christian book say that. And then in the name of Jesus, them all kill themselves too. And in the name of Jesus, them broke them is religion divide Europe. Yeah, religion divide Europe. And it's still a divide Europe today. But when we say religion divide Europe, we are talking about how you have a man named Martin Luther, not to be mixed up, confused with Martin Luther King, but him named Martin Luther from Germany. Him is the one where did say the Pope, the mark of the beast is Rome, the woman, the harlot woman. And then found out of Martin Luther come the Protestant, the church, them call the Protestants, them know where them are protest against the Pope too. Them are protest against all the dogmas in Rome there. So out of Christianity now come the Protestants. And you know the work of the Christians them all over the world, where so them are come civilize people and teach them about Jesus Christ. Them kill the people them in the name of that Jesus Christ. Then now you have now Islam. Islam claims superiority over all because them say Muhammad is the last prophet and only genuine prophet we left. There's no other prophet going to come after Muhammad. You understand? And Allah is the Almighty. Them say the Muslims mean one who submit to the will of God, or one who submit to the will of Allah. So if you're not with me, he's against me. So he's an infidel or other whatsoever they want to call you. So them go in Africa and devastate Africa. We'll let them go, but the people them who give credence to the religion, use the religion against the people them who them come enslave. Because let's not forget it, you know. The Arab them enslave Africans before the Europeans come and enslave Europeans and come and enslave black people. So what we have now is that now you have a group of people who give credence to this religion and them use the religion to create havoc in the world. So we are maintaining that these three religions, even though them claim the same father and apparently the same God, but only thing them call it different name. These religions, if a man can show me what these religions do for help man to be more loving and kinder, and if man have been loving and kinder with these religions, how does it wear to where man have been evil and cruel against man in the name of these religions? Because when we look on the world today, everybody bawling and everybody has searched for that entity and that being where we give them, we remember them of a divine intervention in them sorrowful, pitiful life. Because that is really where all people want to have, you know, them life pitiful. And so them search for something outside of themselves. And them search for this religious belief. And some of them get more vile. Vile. So, we're going to play these ads and come to where we tell you so we're going to play, you know, because black people, we're in a serious problem, but you know, we're so caught up in a religion and politics and the daily wear, food, clothes and shelter thing that we'll not find a time for just sit down and do nothing and say nothing. And just be nothing. Just sit down and just be nothing. People afraid for that. Them want to be something all the while. But there's a time when you have to be nothing. And sometimes, believe you me, you see when people that about them pray, I bet them meditate. Yes, because when you start praying now, you have to pray to something, for something. When you meditate, you go into yourself. Yeah, man, you go into yourself and you have to go on a special place for go meditate. You can't sit down by your toilet bowl and meditate. Yeah, man. So when we are talking about self, we now be egotistical and talk about the self which is. We are talking about the self which should be. You see, and we are motivate the inner being, the consciousness that bind all away. And say, look here, the whole thing are one life, you know, and there's different manifestation. But see, because the manifestation so different, may I tell you, it get combustible. And then to the point of confusion. And this is what we have now, this confusion. So where the gods them there? Where the creator of all this and that which is and which is not? Where the creator of evil and good there? Where the creator of man and woman there, of eat, air and water? That creator stand by and watch. Three group of people are fight over him and are create death and destruction upon the earth. Was supposed to be nice. And this supernatural being sit and look on these little pot. Because how can the pot look on the potter and claim greatness? When it's the potter that made it. So when you look on all how the pot them are going, and always the world I get devastated. Devastated by not by nature devastated it. Not by the wind or the fire or the water. Because the destruction of all the things I said just now is man. I create all these things. Man, I create disturbance in the atmosphere. All the poison you see, a man I create the poison. So when you talk about sin, a man creates sin. Because all the things that is anti-life is sin. Anything where is anti-life, in the religious perspective, is sin. But people create things that is not of life and put it in a them religious belief. When you see a man now say, thou shalt not kill, and then he turn around and say, when it said thou shalt not kill, it don't mean goat and pig, you know, it means thou shalt not kill man. So this being will give this commandment, say thou shalt not kill. Even I'm all powerful, almighty, all thing, and make all life form. You tell me say him only mean don't kill man? No, sir. That limited man. If the all-powerful, almighty full being said, thou shalt not kill, and is giving man this commandment, thou shalt not kill, the only way it could have only really mean, thou shalt not kill human being, is if it's not no supernatural being said, or it's not no divine entity say, because there's no way. I mean, I talk for divine entity, though, because I say, me as a human being and a mortal, so there's no way the divine being will me accept as a creator of all things would have said, thou shalt not kill, and it's only a talk about human beings. When he said, thou shalt not kill to human being, he might talk to only, thou shalt not kill human beings. Serious thing. Hey, Joe. The brother the dangerous just now. No, I tell you say, we are talking to our brother for the year, you know, the brother. We are trying to rectify this homo sapien, homosexual, homo word sapien. And I mean, him realize him come in when we talked last week. See, brother West to me a devil. Me ask him if he know what homo sapien mean, and him said, no, homo sapien mean. He asked me what it mean, and I tell him, say, all right, here what you going to do. You have to go find out about it, you know. I mean, I tell you everything. Anyway, the Virgin called a while ago and say, based upon what him did here, it looked like him coming at the last part. Him coming at the last part, and what we did that said. That's why I did not interpret the word, or me did that said. He might give one the Latin meaning, and he might give one the Greek meaning, and them thing at them we are dealing with them programming, you know. Anyway, him say the one who mean that deal was the Latin translation, and the one where homosexual is a Greek translation. Him say, oh, but him never hear about the Homo sapien, why the relationship to the Homo sapien as opposed to the relationship to the homosexual reasoning. So him say, oh, me come in at the last of the last of the conversation. It's like the man where coming at the church and hear the pastor say, there is no God. And the start say, the pastor. him say, the pastor said, there is no God. No, wait there. Read that up for me, you know, read that up for me. Look at now. Now I'm going to play something. Yeah, this is the Culture Legendary FM, you know. I can't really tell a joke. I can't tell any other joke. You know, believe you, because I don't go talk. I forgot wait, Rasta. I can't really tell any other joke. All right, here we go. We're going to Steve also we're going to play. We're going to play the Steve. I can't make, I think that tape is about 12 minutes. I can't get 12 minutes was a laugh half here. Okay, so here's what we are playing now. Listen to this.
Hi. My name is Stan, and I've been watching the Black Power community for the last 100 years. I just noticed that you guys have been having some problems figuring out what to do about me. You see, I'm a cracker. Yeah, the white man. The guy that has been running the whole world for the last 2,000 years. Well, the reason that I stopped by to speak with you today is to help. I've been watching you guys fight over gaining real black power, and thought I would give you a few pointers. Since we white guys have been running things since we invaded Africa, I figured I would lay out a blueprint to help you achieve your objectives. Might as well use a plan that works, right? Besides, it beats the backward, no progress, mistake repeating methods you people have been trying for the last 400 years. So I knew all of you needed some help. Especially after Barack Obama got into office. He's a great guy, but a black man in a white man's house ain't really saying much considering all the hell you people have been through. Don't get me wrong. In many ways I know you were happy to get at least one black into office. This is good when you want to run politics, but ruling the world is what we white folks specialize in. Have you ever heard of the Illuminati? Well, that is the kind of coordination you are going to need to begin taking over the world. Okay, let's get started. Today, I am going to give you 3 things that we did to take over the world. You can use these too, and begin to gain real black power. Number 1. The first step to taking over the world is unity. I know you have heard of this before, but black people seem to really struggle with this one. You just don't seem to get it. You would rather fight against each other, instead of your enemies. This is bad business and you will never get true freedom doing things this way. Instead, do what we did to gain power. We divided and conquered entire countries based on their differences, while holding true to our similarities. I am white. There is no changing that. My God-born tendency is to preserve my own. Nothing is racist about that. It is just common sense. You people are the stupid ones, going around trying to love everybody, but yourselves. We kicked your asses here in America for over 400 years, and you still go around talking about Jesus loves everyone. While you've been doing all the praying and jumping around, we have been buying up the world and making laws you have to abide by. No offense, but everyone else has unity but you. I mean, look at the business in your neighborhoods. The people that control it don't even look like you. In fact, everyone who comes to this country sets up a business in the black community. The Koreans, the Indians, the Chinese, the list goes on and on. Aren't you tired of letting these other people supply all of your food, nails, and weaves? The one thing they have that you don't is unity. Number 2. Once you get unity, you are going to need to get organized. When we took over the world, we had a plan in place. A goal. Since we whites make up a small percentage of the global population, we knew the only way for us to exist was to enslave non-white people. This was our global plan for white supremacy. But we didn't stop there. We organized a military force behind our goal and executed it to perfection, killing men, women, and children across the globe with brute force. Whatever we needed, we just took it. And if blacks or Native Americans didn't like it, oh well. Remember, there are no rules in war. Our objective is to ensure survival. But you black people seem to think your economic hardships, social injustices, and high arrest rates just happened by chance alone. Never mind, we've worked nearly 4 centuries, day and night to keep you people exactly where we want you. On the plantation. Yeah, it's true. Let me tell you a little secret. Most white people are not going to tell you this. It's an old family secret we have kept pretty quiet about. And for good reason. You see, all that free labor my white ancestors got from your black ancestors translated into a lot of money. In fact, the black slave trade was the greatest wealth-building tool in human history. With free labor we were able to finance the Industrial Revolution. Well, all of that money pretty much stayed in the vast majority of white families. And with all due respect, whites intend to keep it that way. You see, Dr. Martin Luther King was pretty good at integrating lunch counters and toilets. However, he didn't do so well at integrating bank accounts. So you blacks were shafted out of the money that was due to you in exchange for a good job and education. But it was us whites who owned most of the jobs. Which brings me to my point. It's just another plantation. I say all of it to say, being organized is more than alignment. It is knowing the traps we have laid out for you, and then moving around them. Everybody knows but you blacks. That education will only keep you enslaved. It will only produce what it has already produced. A bunch of dressed-up plantation workers perfectly content, working and serving under another man's vision. You don't really think we are going to teach you to build a nation for yourselves, do you? If you were really educated, you would be able to solve your own problems. Problems like gang violence, poor economics, and underrepresentation. Instead, you will continue to pass the notion of getting a good job down to your children. This will brainwash them to be just like you. And the cycle will repeat for generations. While we whites continue to run things at the top, your grandchildren will be celebrating the first black Catholic Pope. I know this has been long, so let's move to number 3. The third way to gain black power is the most important of all. It is this way because it deals more with your psychology than your conscious mind. When we took over the world, we decided to use the most dangerous weapon of all to subjugate the darker peoples of the planet. We used a combination of white supremacy and religion to mind-fuck these people into complete submission. If a robber breaks into your house, rapes your family, kills your mother and father, then tells you that in order to go to heaven, you have to worship as God. If someone did that to me, then said that to be born again, I had to worship as God, I'd kill the bastard right on the spot. But you black people seem to have no problem worshipping the God of your enemies. Even worse is the fact that for all the praying that you have done, it seems like the God of the white man is just as racist as we are. Anytime you start believing in the God of your enemy, it pretty much means you're a complete idiot and a pussy, who is to keep sickness, because to believe the man who murdered your family is your friend is to believe that watermelons have gills. This kind of thinking lacks critical reasoning, a skill needed to defend territory and the minds of the youth. You even believe that Haiti, the only black nation that ever kicked the white man's ass, is cursed because many of them practice voodoo. You even go further and believe that it was God that hit Haiti with a 7.5 earthquake. You religious-minded blacks thought this about New Orleans too. Let me tell you the truth. We gave you this God because we knew by worshipping a white God you would subconsciously be worshipping us. That was a part of our plan, and it worked like a charm on the early slave plantations. We whites decided to perfect it, and have taken our gods all over the world to dark people. You see, we know that if we can get you to put down your God, and pick up ours, you will lose your real power. This is really effective for controlling a people. Practically, by doing this, you will never fight against us because subconsciously you would be fighting God. But that is why you cheer for a white Jesus to kill all the darkies down in Haiti and New Orleans while kissing Pat Robertson's ass. Meanwhile, our harp machines can shake up more prime real estate for the oil companies. If you continue to follow the God of your enemies, you will never rule the world, because you will always have your allegiance with a white man, instead of your God, who's pissed off because you traded him in for a blonde-haired, blue-eyed hippie, whose name we took from
Thought-provoking, always smoking, lyrics like a bazooka. You are listening to Mutabaruka.
Yeah, this is the Cutting Edge on IRFM. All right, now, make way figure out something else with this tape here. So I give it too much work. Okay, make you see. We can put on this tune here.
Emperor Selassie, I am my master.
Zana coming through brand new. Yeah, you know, all right, we can't, that's something wrong with the bottom of that tape. We can't continue playing it. But him say some other things. I forgot to tell you how forget it. I really, I don't know. I don't have the name them again as some really funny name. I never hear that part. I don't think when I didn't listen to it, and I go back and listen to it again. So I forgot to figure out. I forgot. I should have edit it right now too. Okay. Brand new.
Every day I walk through my door and remember that I'm so poor. I shall not give up so easily, no. There's a reward for me. There's a reward for me. To a poor it's a shame. There's no one for me to blame. But I shall not give up. Oh no, so easily, no. There's a reward for me. There's a reward for me. Sometimes I feel like a motherless child. There's no one to care for me. I never know no sympathy. Sometimes I look at the world with a smile. Do you hear what I say? Every day I walk through my door and remember that I'm so poor. But I shall not give up so easily, no. There's a reward for me. I know there's a reward for me. Father of great understanding, yes, there's a reward for me. Father of caring and sharing, I know you understand it, yes, there's a reward. Clap your hands for a brighter tomorrow. Yes, there's a reward for me. Sometimes I feel like a motherless child, and there's no one to care for me. I never know no sympathy. Sometimes I look at the world with a smile. Man, you hear what I say? Every day through my door and remember that I'm so poor, but I shall not give up, oh no, so easily, no. There's a reward for me. There's a reward for me.
Yeah, Richie Spice and Anthony B. One written by the man called Joe Higgs.
There's a reward. Clap your hands for a brighter tomorrow. There's a reward for me. There's a reward. Clap your hands for a brighter tomorrow. Open up, open up. Mother of understanding, yes. There's a reward for me. There's a reward.
Racism emerges really in the 16th and 17th, particularly the 17th century. Europeans were enslaving and had for some centuries been enslaving people both of Africa and of the New World.
History of racism in the Western world is broadly associated with slavery as the early form of colonialism. And it's in that context that something called race is created, which essentially means that certain people who are defined as non-Europeans find themselves ruled and governed by Europeans.
For people in America in the 17th and the 18th century, race was a fact of life. And I think that racism is something that comes out of that interaction of necessity. This isn't people cooking up racism in their laboratory or in their study and then going out into the world to apply it. In a sense, white people, and blacks and Indians, worked out their ideas of race in proximity with each other on the hoof.
The British don't become slave traders and slavers because they are racist. They become racist because they use slaves for great profit in the Americas and devise a set of attitudes towards black people that justifies what they've done. The real engine behind the slave system is economics. Africans are items of trade. They're things that are bought, that are sold, that are bequeathed, that are inherited. They're like other items of trade. And once you've got that established, both on the slave ships, of which there are thousands leaving British ports, and once you've got that established on the plantations, and once you've got that established as a basis for expanding British wealth, how can you argue that somehow or other the great inferiority of black people isn't built into fundamental cultural values of the British?
John Hawkins was perhaps the first English trader to actually kidnap slaves from Tagrin, which is a couple of miles from Freetown, and forcibly took slaves away from Sierra Leone. The sad thing is that this man was even made a knight. When we are in school, we read about Sir John Hawkins as if he was such a good person, he was such a righteous person, somebody who had contributed positively to, the creation of the British Empire. It was only much later that some of us learned with regret that, in fact, he was not only involved in the slave trade, but he actually captured, slaves.
He established places down down by Government Wharf, what we call Government Wharf now.
Over time, it became an industry, and a lot of English traders and a lot of Sierra Leonean rulers, particularly those along the coast, became heavily involved in the slave trade. And we have, for instance, several islands off the coast of Sierra Leone that were prominent slave trading posts, like Bonds Island, for instance, where there were English force, other European South force, even Americans were very heavily involved in the slave trade from Bonds Island.
People that come for buy, the number there, in a group iron, the number we want, you take up. They put on this fire room, open, the banner,
and of course, we know the way they were taken, captured, tied up, chained, and thrown into the ships.
So it was a very bad experience for the slaves from the moment they were captured up to the time they reached the so-called New World.
And then those who survived and did arrive, had to be put for sale. And then when they were bought, they had to undergo all kinds of indignities.
One great woman, it could cost 2 man price. Sometimes it work for you, not the garden. Not come back, they work for you, it born picking for you. Now for that, it they pay 2 times for one great woman. When the boat come collect tuna,
At a conservative estimate, over 11 million Africans were transported across the Atlantic. Manacled and packed together like animals, at least 2 million died during the infernal voyage known as the Middle Passage.
Slaves are seen as deracinated people who did not belong, who were natally alienated. That is, they had no right of birth, and they're seen as people who had been torn from another society but not socialized into the new one. So they were socially dead, so to speak. They were seen as people without honor, which is a degraded condition. The value of this for the master is that the master had absolute power over the slave, regardless of what the laws may say. They had rights of life and death.
A situation grows up where thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of these black or dark-skinned people are being kept down without rights and kept at work night and day by a system of surveillance with whips and cutlasses. And of course there is the fear that they will try and rise up, that they'll try to run away, and that when they do that they're going to slaughter the masters and the overseers and their wives in their beds. And really that any white person will be seen as a potential enemy by the black.
There's the red peril called Red Indians. There's the yellow peril. There's the black peril. There's this idea of the non-white other. And the non-white other is threatening, the non-white other is scary, the non-white other may be coming to attack. And it comes out of, you could say, a bad conscience in part, a sort of subconscious recognition perhaps of the kind of things that have been done to the non-white other.
In the early 16th century, from Chile in the south to Florida in the north, this non-white other was no more than vermin to be exterminated. The Dominican monk Bartolomé de las Casas was eyewitness to countless atrocities against the native populations. His account reads like a catalogue of genocide.
The mainland and the region known as Florida. The Spaniards murdered many, as is their custom, in order to strike terror into the hearts of these people. They made their lives an utter misery, treating them as so many beasts of burden. In another large town, the butchers put the whole town to the sword, young and old, chiefs and commoners, not even the children were spared. The butcher-in-chief arranged for a large number of natives in the area to have their noses, lips, and chins sliced from their faces. They were then sent away in unspeakable agony and all running with blood to act as walking testimony to the great deeds and holy miracles performed by these dauntless missionaries of the Holy Catholic faith.
The things that Las Casas witnessed, particularly on Hispaniola or in Cuba, these incredible crimes, these incredible attacks on Indians, disembowelings and burnings and rapes and whatever else, I'm sure that that level of violence is something that you could have witnessed in different places in the 17th, the 18th century, in other parts of the Spanish Empire. But it was a peculiarly awful moment that Las Casas saw as the Spanish got to the Americas and tried literally to work the Indians to death.
The reports of Las Casas caused enough unease for the Council of the Indies, the Spanish administrators of the New World, to call a debate at Valladolid in Spain in 1550. The debate concerned not just the mistreatment of Indians, but whether they could be categorized as human at all. In contest with Las Casas, the champion of the native populations was the Jesuit Juan Ginés de Sepulveda.
By this time, the Spanish have been in the Americas for about 50 years. And during that time, the brutalities carried out by the conquistadors had reached such heights that it caused some alarm. And out of that context came this particular debate. On the one hand, there was this idea that the Indians had souls, they could be Christianized, and they should be treated not as servants, not as forced laborers, but as people under the protectorate of the Spanish. On the other side of the debate was the idea that perhaps these are not people with souls, perhaps these are people who are natural slaves. And in that context, they could be coerced to produce labor.
What Las Casas wanted to do was to change the policy of the Spanish crown towards the Indians. So, paradoxically, he was able to get slavery of Indians banned. That's something which the Spanish crown bans, outlaws. And by 1542, the laws have been changed to ensure that there can no longer be Indian slaves. But Las Casas also suggests that the labor shortfall in America can be made up with black slaves from Africa, which I think he later regretted, later in life.
It's a key moment insofar as the reflection on the system that produces race is there in that debate. The system that produces race, which will produce race over the next 200-300 years, is that colonial system, which takes this diverse range of peoples and defines them as Indian, forces that category on them. And it's in that context that you begin to see two things that go hand in hand with the development of racism. On the one hand, the institutions that keep in place exploited populations, oppressed populations, and in that context, the debates that then take place as to what kinds of populations they are. These debates begin with lawyers, they move to anthropologists, and then they move on to biologists. always debating within that context of colonialism, which fixes those people as objects of investigation.
Thursday, 11th October. Thus far and no land. Another 12 hours will decide.
A crucial moment in the racial history of the whole Atlantic world and of the world is Christopher Columbus, but not the first voyage, which everybody knows about, but the third voyage in 1498. Columbus sailed south to Sierra Leone, where, as he noticed, the people are very black, perfectly black. And then he sailed due west from Sierra Leone, and he wound up near Trinidad and the northern coast of South America. And he reported that the people there were white with blonde hair. And that shouldn't have happened according to the prevailing theories of skin color in the whole classical world in the medieval period. What happened with Columbus is that people started to realize that you could stay on the same latitude and get radically different skin colors. And if that was the case, then there had to be some other explanation for skin color other than geography. So that's where you begin to get the emergence of biological theories of difference in skin color. And that leads eventually to racist theories of differences in skin color.
So a view emerges, originally identified as pre-Adamism, that maybe there are multiple origins, and that less civilized, more primitive human beings have an origin that is not accountable for by a biblical narrative, but are closer to the animal world. And that view then develops into a view called polygenism, that is multiple origins.
When Europeans first encountered chimpanzees, they were really struck by the similarities between what we now call chimpanzees and humans. But they called chimpanzees drills. And one of the questions that John Locke talks about...
this is the Cutting Edge on RFM with the panel. You know, so from the whole time, we don't stop Black History. We consider the Black History thing right through. We don't wait till February for Black History out. But we are listening to a kind of historical perspective of slavery. Historical coming from England. The perspective is from England, where they create the most devastation when it comes on to slavery. Anyway, we'll continue.
Understanding is the question of whether human beings have mated with drills. So the question that gets increasingly asked in the 17th century is, are African peoples what we call the same species as Europeans? And Locke has real questions about whether we can say that they're the same species or not. And one of the explanations for African people that you start hearing in Barbados, for instance, the English colony on Barbados in the 17th century, is that black Africans are produced by the sexual union of a chimpanzee and a human being. So they're not really human, they're half animal. And this gets bound up with a whole series of prejudices about the animality of Africans, their bestiality, their sexuality is animalistic. Even in the 20th century, you get all sorts of claims about jazz music being animalistic. These are prejudices that begin to be ingrained in European culture in the 17th century in the context of what we think of as major scientific or philosophical texts.
And literary texts too. In The Tempest, whichever way you interpret Caliban, Shakespeare's weird hybrid reinforces the idea that slaves are not fully human.
Shakespeare doesn't quite know how to figure the hewer of wood and drawer of water. Is this the working class? Is this the proletariat? Is this the African? Is this the savage? Shakespeare doesn't know, and he creates Caliban.
Thou poisonous slave, got by the devil himself upon thy wicked dam, come forth!
In The Tempest, it seems to me pretty clear that Shakespeare imagined Caliban as a black slave. He has an African mother and a black devil father, and that in some ways Caliban is the first representation of the rebellious, sexually obsessed, violent, ignorant black slave.
I have used thee, filth as thou art, with human care. lodge thee in mine own cell, till thou didst seek to violate the honour of my child.
Will it have been done? Thou didst prevent me. I had people else this isle with Calibans.
Shakespeare presents him as somebody who will be tricked by a few baubles. You know, not crystal meths, not crack cocaine, but by a few trinkets and some booze.
Many a Caliban might have found himself in the English plantations of America. In fact, The Tempest was partly inspired by the story of a ship which ran aground on Bermuda, where the crew then mutinied. The Sea Venture had been bound for the plantations of Virginia, a slaveholding colony in which Shakespeare himself had a financial investment.
The economic notion of the plantation as a large site of agribusiness and of a large cooperation of human labor for the arable field begins in Ireland, begins in Ulster. Of course, it was a London merchant house that wished to plant dairy and to start the plantation of Ulster at the very time that, at Shakespeare's time, towards the end of Shakespeare's life, that the Virginia Company is establishing a colony in Virginia.
The idea that the great glory days of England begin with Elizabeth, there is no successful English colony under the reign of Elizabeth. Great English imperial aggressive victories started happening in the 17th century, really under Cromwell, with the growth of the empire and the conquest of Jamaica. And that's when the English also began to perceive of themselves as part of a superior white race.
Oliver Cromwell is a fierce and powerful revolutionary figure. He was a great general and commander of capitalism that transformed the Atlantic, if not the whole world. This mighty vision he had of doing God's work had begun in the fens of England, where the huge hydraulic works of Van Muden in Holland are harnessed to drain the fields. So he played a role in that, and to discommon, or to remove people from their customary lands in order to produce the riches of the alluvial plains of Lincolnshire and the Norfolk Broads. He then transforms that interrelationship, shall we say, of water and land to crossing the Atlantic and to establishing the sugar plantations. He doesn't do this alone, of course. He does it with a class of people. This is why we say the capitalist class, because they hope to capitalize the land, turn the land into commodities and then into capital, and do this through the sugar plantation in the 1640s, in the very time of the English Revolution or the English Civil War. It's an amazing story of conquest, cruelty, and God.
So if you look at something like the southern states of America, up until the point of the American Civil War, the greatest amount of wealth in America was the ownership of slaves and slave labor. Now this is enormous. And it's in that process of being able to command the resources of other parts of the world, extract them for your industries and that labor, that you create this massive structural inequality.
The British become well off on the basis of the slave system. Liverpool, Bristol grow to kind of extraordinary levels of material and urban well-being because of the slave system. Lloyd's of London, the Bank of England, Barings Bank, Barclays Bank, Lord Harwood at Harwood House, stately homes left, right and centre, are absolutely rooted in this slave system. But it's a slave system that needs a justification. That is the kind of racist element in it. But the real rationale for it is profit.
The sort of laundering of slave profits, as opposed to simply the relocation of them in economic enterprises, is, I think, a very important part of the modern development of Britain. For example, I always think of Bristol, the development of Clifton and so on and so forth, absolutely tied to the slave profits from the 18th century, early 19th century slave trade.
Slavery as it existed in parts of Europe prior to this period of the Atlantic
slave trade was not particularly color-coded. Yes, the slaves in Western Europe might be Slavs, but, they had the same skin color, and you couldn't tell by looking at somebody whether he was a slave or not. But, by the time you get to the West Indies in 1700 or something, you can tell by looking at somebody whether or not he or she is a slave.
The ancients, by and large, did not suffer from that form of race identification and slavery based on race, but they had their own version of it, which was that all foreigners, all non-Greeks, all outsiders, in principle, could be enslaved legitimately because they were inferior. It's not just people who are not Greek who are regarded as inferior in this sort of unalterable way, but Greek men regarded Greek women in somewhat the same way. So if you are male and Greek, you belong just by that very fact to superior categories.
To begin with, racial feeling can take simply the form of aversion, of dislike. But in the case of New World slavery, what it's doing is taking the form of domination, of exploitation, something much more coherent, something much more purposeful. It's not just a casual prejudice against people who are unlike ourselves. It's a determination to use those people who are unlike ourselves. So it's this that creates the more intense racial feeling that comes out of the widespread adoption of slavery in the plantations in the Americas.
In antiquity, defenders of the institution of slavery didn't rely on ideas of racial inferiority or skin colour to justify it, but the ideas of one of the great thinkers of antiquity, who was much quoted in the Valladolid debates, would be adapted to the context of New World slavery.
Aristotle, if I could use an awful phrase, is the nigger in the woodpile, because his views were looked back to from the later medieval period onwards and cited because Aristotle was regarded as, though unfortunately he wasn't a Christian, he lived too early, nevertheless he was the next best thing. And if he said slavery was a natural phenomenon, then it probably was. But it's very important to be clear that Aristotle was not speaking in terms of external racial characteristics, colour.
Genesis chapter 9, verse 25. And Noah began to be a husbandman, and he planted...
An authority even greater than Aristotle's was invoked to justify slavery: God and his good book. Genesis chapter 9, verse 25 was interpreted by Christians as divine authorization for trafficking in slaves and the ownership of plantations.
Oh, and this is kind of a funny story, and from our perspective it seems sort of ridiculous, but this is taken very seriously indeed. After the flood, Noah gets out, there are still waters all around, and so Noah decides he's going to set up a vineyard. Noah gets drunk. He has 3 sons, Japheth, Shem, and Ham. Ham goes into Noah's chamber while he's lying in this inebriated state, and then takes off the sheet, looks down at Noah, and then calls in his brothers.
And Ham, the father of Canaan, saw the nakedness of his
and says, "Look at our father who's lying naked," and tries to get his brothers to laugh. When Noah comes round from his stupor, he's furious, and he pronounces a curse on Ham's descendants.
And he said, "Cursed."
And he pronounces a curse on Ham's descendants.
And he said, "Cursed be Canaan, the servant of servants shall he be unto his brethren."
So he says that Ham's son, who's called Canaan, will from then on be cursed in perpetuity, and he'll be a slave to the other 2 brothers, Shem and Japheth.
Curse of Ham was not specifically black from the beginning. There was a medieval writer representing the lords of the manor saying the peasants are the descendants of Ham, and that's why they have to serve. The word slave originally originated from Slavic, and these were people who had been captured on the eastern frontiers of Europe. It was not until about the 15th century when the Portuguese in West Africa began to specifically identify Africans with the curse.
But the idea is that one branch of the human family has been enslaved because of this curse, which Noah pronounced on Ham.
It's a kind of one-size-fits-all oppressors story, because you can decide whatever group it is that you want to enslave or oppress are the descendants of Ham, and therefore you have a biblical justification for your mistreatment of them.
Christianity it does different things at different times. In other words, there's certainly a strand of thinking in which people justify slavery by arguing that it's bringing people in Africa into Christianity and so forth.
Christianity is just one aspect of a number of different systems of thinking that would create the colonial basis for the kinds of knowledge which will be used to define non-European populations. So you move from Christianity to liberalism, to notions of humanitarianism, to capitalism. All these kinds of interventions are part of trying to manage and make sense of what the colonial enterprise is without questioning the colonial enterprise, without questioning what Atlantic slavery is.
Christianity's role in slavery is very complex. For most of its history, it basically accepted slavery as part of the order of things. In a way, the parallel would be the attitude towards a homeless person today. I mean, we see it not as a sin or as evil, but as an unfortunate situation. And this continued right up to the middle of the 18th century, when a truly radical change took place in which some Christian thinkers began to see slavery as a sin.
Enslavement of the natives of North America was never European policy, but that didn't make life any easier for these indigenous peoples, whose relationship with the settlers would ultimately leave most of them either victimized or dead.
If you look at Native Americans from their perspective, when white people arrived, they were a disruption, they were shocking, and they were surprising in all sorts of ways. But for many Indians, they simply looked at them as another rival group. And this is one of the interesting facts about 17th century American history. From Indians' perspectives, whites were in a way a bit similar to other rival Indian nations. So perhaps you'd trade with whites, perhaps you'd make war with whites, perhaps you'd ally with the whites against another Indian nation. Indians didn't see things in white and red, if you want to put it that way, white and red terms, because the white settlements weren't powerful enough until much later in the 17th century, even into the 18th century. So they didn't see this as an invasion, as a form of genocide, in a way that would unite them as Indians against white people.
The ways and thoughts of the white men are strange.
But for all that our skins are of different hues, we are friends. Chingachtuk.
You could talk about the 18th century as a 100-year period in which Indians increasingly realize that the battle is between them and white people. And in 1763, when it became clear to a host of different Indian groups in the Midwest that the wind was changing, they launched a rebellion. It was led by an Ottawa Indian named Pontiac, laid siege to the British fort at Detroit. He didn't succeed in destroying the fort, but he got the people there very scared indeed. And it made London aware of the problem of managing Indians, especially in the Midwest. And one of the most extraordinary things that happened is that George III declared in the autumn of 1763 a line of proclamation. That's what it was called, the line of proclamation, which forbade any white settler from settling beyond the Appalachian Mountains without his explicit permission. So effectively, the idea was to put the brakes on white settlement to preserve British trading relationships with the Indians. But of course, the irony here is you've got tons of white settlers moving to America looking for land. So in effect, in 1763, this royal proclamation creates a new tension between ordinary white settlers on the ground and the Crown. And it's definitely one of the contributing factors in the American Revolution. White settlers believe after 1763 that the British government doesn't support them, and instead it backs the Indians. And after the American Revolution, or in the process of the American Revolution, the gloves really come off for white Americans, and the new United States is not an Indian-friendly nation in the least.
Native Americans were in an impossible situation. Side with the British, whose stronghold was Fort Detroit, and they risked the wrath of the rebel colonists based in Fort Pitt. Side with these Americans and their militiamen, and they would invite merciless retribution from the British. And as for trying to stay out of it, even if you were in Pennsylvania, a state founded by Quakers upon principles of Christian brotherly love, this too could have fatal consequences.
Now, one group that didn't pick one side or the other were the Moravian Christian Indians, who were gathered in 3 little communities, the most important of which was called Gnadenhutten. These Moravian Christians, there are maybe 100, 150, had tried to stay out of the war. They weren't hostile Indians. They had adopted many of the customs, the equipment, the technology of white people. They read the Bible. They sang hymns. They were, to all intents and purposes, the dream model of people back in the 17th century who wanted to convert and civilize Indians. And then a group of Pennsylvania militiamen arrived. When they had taken everything that they had that could be construed as a weapon, tools, axes, whatever, that the Indians had, which could be used against them, the militiamen got together and decided to kill every one of them. So every single Indian, in fact the majority were women and children. I think there were around 30 men, so the rest, 60 or so, were women and children. All of them were massacred. They were brought in pairs to a hut where they were hit over the head with a cooper's mallet. And their brains were dashed out without any regard to their obviously being non-combatant. And at the end of the massacre, the white militiamen who committed it melted away. There was never any legal action taken against them. And their argument was that these Indians had tools with writing on them, or they had books, or they had implements they could only have stolen from white people. And that's the tragedy or the irony of all of this. In a way, the things that showed that those Christian Indians were civilized were used against them because these militiamen couldn't believe they belonged to them. But I think that's a tremendously evocative story for Pennsylvania, because what began as this noble experiment with white people and Indians living side by side had now turned into this most grisly kind of race war, in which the distinctions between good and bad Indian are totally erased. It goes back to one of the problems, I guess, for Americans, white settlers. What does it mean to be an American? What is there about America as a place which defines the people that live there? When the Boston Tea Party took place in December of 1773, there's protest against the tea taxes which are being imposed by London, and you get these patriots running onto these ships of the British East India Company and pouring the tea into the harbour. They dressed as Indians. Now that to me is tremendously interesting, because they dressed as Indians to prove they were American. It's as if when you get past the stage of mastering Indians militarily, they become incredibly useful culturally in articulating Americanness, the idea of being American. And, there's a reason why there are cars called, the Cherokee, or the Pontiac. I mean, you line up the major Indian leaders, line up the major Indian tribes, and you can probably find a vehicle or a weapon named after one. The Apache helicopter, the Tomahawk missile. You don't have to look very far to find that kind of connection.
And many people pointed out the Indian appears on the nickel, but the African appears on no coins. And so the Indian was sort of a symbol of America in a way. Not the full destiny of America was to be civilized, and Indians were to become civilized or they were to die out. But they still identified with America in a way that Africans could not be. The one thing that comes to mind looking at it over a long period of time is that one of the main distinguishing features of black-white relations in the United States has been the idea of the so-called one-drop rule. Purity of blood. To be white, you could not have an unknown black ancestry. It wasn't always enforced, but this was the rule. Indian blood and intermarriage with Indians, going back to John Rolfe and Pocahontas, was not taboo. So that when Oklahoma became a state, it was interesting, the Oklahoma Constitution, there were a number of part Indian figures who were involved in the setting up of the Oklahoma state government when it was in 1910. And the law said there could be no marriage between whites and blacks, and no marriage between Indians and blacks. But they left the Indians and whites to freely intermarry.
The mid-18th century is considered a pivotal historical moment when the Enlightenment dream of the brotherhood of man, championed by philosophers like David Hume, Voltaire, Rousseau, and the encyclopedists, came to prominence. This period gave rise to the ideals of liberty, equality, and fraternity, principles that fueled the American and French revolutions. But these popular democratic principles were never universally applied. Choose any intellectual giant of the Enlightenment, and almost without exception, you will have chosen a proponent of equal rights, who really believes that some men are more equal than others.
Kant is seen as, one of the most important philosophers of the modern period of the past few hundred years. And he's certainly seen as the most important moral philosopher, in that the crucial idea is this idea of personhood, and you respect the personhood of others, you don't diss other people. And yet simultaneous with that, Kant also has these writings in anthropology and physical geography, in which he basically outlines a kind of four-tiered level of human beings. It's basically a racially restrictive view of personhood, that a prerequisite for being a personhood is basically being white. It's only the European tier, the sort of top tier, who have what it takes to become full persons. And Asians, one rung below Europeans, blacks, one rung below that, Native Americans. These are the tiers. Even if they're human, they're not full persons.
The Enlightenment is a two-edged sword. It provided the basis for an argument for the social and political equality of all men. But at the same time, it provided the opportunity to look at human beings not as children of God, but as varieties of animal.
So if you decide that certain human beings are not human, they don't belong to the same species, then of course they don't have any right to sign contracts, and they can't be part of the social contract that forms your political system. And that's exactly what happens in these early democracies, is that blacks don't have any voting rights.
Many of the philosophers writing in this period, they played a crucial rationalizing role in justifying European imperialism, in justifying the domination of whites over people of color. So why is it then that these things are not more widely known? Why has the Kant establishment not taken up this issue? The marginalization of issues like this sort of goes in tandem with the sanitized view of mainstream philosophers. So that you represent Locke, you represent Kant, you represent Hegel, you represent these people in ways that does not address the sort of racist dimensions of their thought, and that sort of contributes to a picture of the modern period from which race has been whitewashed out.
Their Majesties Ferdinand and Isabella, King and Queen of Castile, Leon and Aragon, I now take possession of this land and name it San Salvador.
In spite of the atrocities perpetrated by the Spanish and Portuguese after the discovery of the New World, the colonizers eventually developed a society that allowed Europeans to mix with Indians on a scale that was unthinkable in French and English North America. But in the south, it was expedient for the settlers. They had to multiply or die out because there just weren't enough of them to go round.
The Spanish had a very different understanding of the Indians than the British did. I think from the earliest moments of settlement, Spaniards tended to regard Indians as people that they could fold into their social system. Not because they were nicer people, the Spanish necessarily, but because for a variety of reasons there were fewer white people in Spanish America. Because Spain never colonized America with anything like the number of colonists that England and eventually Britain brought over. The number of Spaniards, peninsulares as they were known, people from the Iberian Peninsula that actually came to Latin America, was much, much smaller.
One sees emerging in the period of the Enlightenment, in the latter part of the 18th century, as abolitionism is beginning to take root in that part of the world as well, a much more vigorous form of mixed race interaction that we find in other parts of the world. It's a different tradition coming out of Southern European colonization, Portuguese on one hand, Spanish on the other, and out of this a greater willingness to engage in forms of mixed interaction, mixed intercourse, and identified and acknowledged mixed race populations emerging. And out of this you get, in the last 30 years, really 1760 to 1790, in Mexico City in particular, but you also get versions of this in Peru and elsewhere, of what comes to be called casta painting, mixed race painting, caste painting you might even call it, which characterizes in explicit classificatory terms. And after all, classification is an emergent form of rationality of Enlightenment thinking. The casta painting lays out the forms of offspring that emerge from certain kinds of mixture between what they call Spaniard and Indian on the one hand, Spaniard and black on the other, in other words, European or white. with other racial forms, Indian and African, and then mixtures as well with the mixtures of the mixtures, so to speak. So you get various gradations, and you might even call it degradations of racial mixing that go from mestizo and so on.
But the color lines were not rigidly drawn between just two races, but you had at least one intermediate race, and mulattoes or...
Amount of wealth in America was the ownership of slaves and slave labor. Now this is enormous, and it's in that process of being able to command the resources of other parts of the world, extract them for your industries and that labor, that you create this massive structural inequality.
The British become well off on the basis of the slave system. Liverpool, Bristol grow to kind of extraordinary levels of material and urban well-being because of the slave system. Lloyd's of London, the Bank of England, Barings Bank, Barclays Bank, Lord Harwood at Harwood House, stately homes left, right and centre, are absolutely rooted in this slave system. But it's a slave system that needs a justification. That is the kind of racist element in it. But the real rationale for it is profit.
The sort of laundering of slave profits, as opposed to simply the relocation of them in economic enterprises, is, I think, a very important part of the modern development of Britain.
Thought-provoking, always smoking, lyrics like a bazooka. You are listening to Mutabaruka.
Yeah, the time is 24 minutes to 1 o'clock. This is the Coaching Edge and RFM. You're listening to a documentary called The History of Racism. And it's dealing with racism right across the board. And how white Europe, well, not white Europe, but Europeans facilitated slavery amongst the Native American them especially, amongst the African them especially. So we're going to continue with it. Yeah, we're going to continue.
Possible situation. Side with the British, whose stronghold was Fort Detroit, and they risked the wrath of the rebel colonists based in Fort Pitt. Side with these Americans and their militiamen, and they would invite merciless retribution from the British. And as for trying to stay out of it, even if you were in Pennsylvania, a state founded by Quakers upon principles of Christian brotherly love, this too could have fatal consequences.
Now, one group that didn't pick one side or the other were the Moravian Christian Indians, who were gathered in 3 little communities, the most important of which was called Gnadenhutten. These Moravian Christians, there are maybe 100, 150, had tried to stay out of the war. They weren't hostile Indians. They had adopted many of the customs, the equipment, the technology of white people. They read the Bible. They sang hymns. They were, to all intents and purposes, the dream model of people back in the 17th century who wanted to convert and civilize Indians. And then a group of Pennsylvania militiamen arrived. When they had taken everything that they had that could be construed as a weapon, tools, axes, whatever, that the Indians had, which could be used against them, the militiamen got together and decided to kill every one of them. So every single Indian, in fact the majority were women and children. I think there were around 30 men, so the rest, 60 or so, were women and children. All of them were massacred. They were brought in pairs to a hut where they were hit over the head with a cooper's mallet. And their brains were dashed out without any regard to their obviously being non-combatant. And at the end of the massacre, the white militiamen who'd committed it melted away. There was never any legal action taken against them. And their argument was that these Indians had tools with writing on them, or they had books, or they had implements they could only have stolen from white people. And that's the tragedy or the irony of all of this. In a way, the things that showed that those Christian Indians were civilized were used against them because these militiamen couldn't believe they belonged to them. But I think that's a tremendously evocative story for Pennsylvania, because what began as this noble experiment with white people and Indians living side by side had now turned into this most grisly kind of race war, in which the distinctions between good and bad Indian are totally erased. It goes back to one of the problems, I guess, for Americans, white settlers. What does it mean to be an American? What is there about America as a place which defines the people that live there? When the Boston Tea Party took place in December of 1773, there's protest against the tea taxes which are being imposed by London, and you get these patriots running onto these ships of the British East India Company and pouring the tea into the harbour. They dressed as Indians. Now that to me is tremendously interesting, because they dressed as Indians to prove they were American. It's as if when you get past the stage of mastering Indians militarily, they become incredibly useful culturally in articulating Americanness, the idea of being American. And, there's a reason why there are cars called, the Cherokee, or the Pontiac. I mean, you line up the major Indian leaders, line up the major Indian tribes, and you can probably find a vehicle or a weapon named after one. The Apache helicopter, Tomahawk missile. You don't have to look very far to find that kind of connection.
And many people have pointed out the Indian appears on the nickel, but the African appears on no coins. So the Indian was sort of a symbol of America in a way. Not the full destiny of America was to be civilized, and Indians were to become civilized or they were to die out. But they still identified with America in a way that Africans could not be. The one thing that comes to mind looking at it over a long period of time is that one of the main distinguishing features of black-white relations in the United States has been the idea of the so-called one-drop rule. Purity of blood. To be white, you could not have an unknown black ancestor. It wasn't always enforced, but this was the rule. Indian blood and intermarriage with Indians, going back to John Rolfe and Pocahontas, was not taboo. So that when Oklahoma became a state, it was interesting, the Oklahoma Constitution, there were a number of part Indian figures who were involved in the setting up of the Oklahoma state government when it was in 1910. And the law said there could be no marriage between whites and blacks, and no marriage between Indians and blacks. But they left the Indians and whites to freely intermarry.
The mid-18th century is considered a pivotal historical moment when the Enlightenment dream of the brotherhood of man, championed by philosophers like David Hume, Voltaire, Rousseau, and the encyclopedists, came to prominence. This period gave rise to the ideals of liberty, equality, and fraternity, principles that fueled the American and French revolutions. But these popular democratic principles were never universally applied. Choose any intellectual giant of the Enlightenment, and almost without exception, you will have chosen a proponent of equal rights, who really believes that some men are more equal than others.
Kant is seen as, one of the most important philosophers of the modern period of the past few hundred years. And he's certainly seen as the most important moral philosopher, in that the crucial idea is this idea of personhood, and you respect the personhood of others, you don't diss other people. And yet, simultaneous with that, Kant also has these writings in anthropology and physical geography, in which he basically outlines a kind of four-tiered level of human beings. It's basically a racially restrictive view of personhood, that a prerequisite for being a personhood is basically being white. It's only the European tier, the sort of top tier, who have what it takes to become full persons. And Asians, one rung below Europeans, blacks, one rung below that, Native Americans. These are the tiers. Even if they're human, they're not full persons.
The Enlightenment is a two-edged sword. It provided the basis for an argument for the social and political equality of all men. But at the same time, it provided the opportunity to look at human beings not as children of God, but as varieties of animal.
So if you decide that certain human beings are not human, they don't belong to the same species, then of course they don't have any right to sign contracts, and they can't be part of the social contract that forms your political system. And that's exactly what happens in these early democracies, is that blacks don't have any voting rights.
Many of the philosophers writing this period, they played a crucial rationalizing role in justifying European imperialism, in justifying the domination of whites over people of color. So why is it then that these things are not more widely known? Why has the Kant establishment not taken up this issue? the marginalization of issues like this sort of, goes in tandem with the sanitized view of mainstream philosophers. So that, you represent Locke, you represent Kant, you represent Hegel, you represent these people in ways that, does not address the sort of racist dimensions of their thought. And that sort of, contributes to a picture of the modern period from which race has been whitewashed out.
In the name of their Majesties, Ferdinand and Isabella, King and Queen of Castile, Leon, and Aragon, I now take possession of this land and name it San Salvador.
In spite of the atrocities perpetrated by the Spanish and Portuguese after the discovery of the New World, the colonizers eventually developed a society that allowed Europeans to mix with Indians on a scale that was unthinkable in French and English North America. But in the South, it was expedient for the settlers. They had to multiply or die out because there just weren't enough of them to go round.
The Spanish had a very different understanding of the Indians than the British did. I think from the earliest moments of settlement, Spaniards tended to regard Indians as people that they could fold into their social system. Not because they were nicer people, the Spanish necessarily, but because for a variety of reasons there were fewer white people in Spanish America. Because Spain never colonized America with anything like the number of colonists that England and eventually Britain brought over. The number of Spaniards, peninsulares as they were known, people from the Iberian Peninsula that actually came to Latin America, was much, much smaller.
One sees emerging in the period of the Enlightenment, in the latter part of the 18th century, as abolitionism is beginning to take root in that part of the world as well, a much more vigorous form of mixed race interaction that you find in other parts of the world. It's a different tradition coming out of Southern European colonization, Portuguese on one hand, Spanish on the other, and out of this a greater willingness to engage in forms of mixed interaction, mixed intercourse, and identified and acknowledged mixed race populations emerging. And out of this you get, in the last 30 years, really 1760 to 1790, in Mexico City in particular, but you also get versions of this in Peru and elsewhere, of what comes to be called casta painting, mixed race painting, caste painting you might even call it, which characterizes in explicit classificatory terms, and after all classification is an emergent form of rationality of Enlightenment thinking. The casta painting lays out the forms of offspring that emerge from certain kinds of mixture between what they call Spaniard and Indian on the one hand, Spaniard and black on the other, in other words European or white, with other racial forms, Indian and African, and then mixtures as well with the mixtures of the mixtures, so to speak. So you get various gradations, and you might even call it degradations, of racial mixing that go from mestizo and so on.
But the color lines were not rigidly drawn between just two races, but you had at least one intermediate race, in mulattoes or brown people. The presence of the mulatto in those colonies, the importance of mulattoes in Brazil as an intermediate group, the importance of mestizos in Spanish colonies with a large Indian population, is something that I think does distinguish the United States with its basically two-category system. You're either white or you're black.
South America is very complex and fascinating. It's different, but it wasn't necessarily better. It's easy to be fooled by the system because you go there and you see blacks and whites among the poor mixing together, whereas they don't in the United States. Because what the U.S. did with this one-drop rule was to encourage a sense of solidarity among whites as a way of dividing them from blacks. And one reason you never had working-class solidarity in America is because the one-drop rule and the binary system of race is a powerful tool for dividing the working classes between whites and blacks. And the lower down the system you go, the more economically vulnerable and marginal the white person is, the more he's inclined to be racist, because it's the only way in which he has some status. He said, at least I'm not black. And so the white poor and the black poor are totally against each other. So it became a perfect system of division. Latin American societies are far more racist at the top than the United States. I mean, the Brazilian military brass is completely white. The Brazilian political elite is, until recently, completely white. Whereas in the United States, the higher up you go now, because of civil rights laws and so on, the more integrated the population, and the American political elite is thoroughly integrated. I mean, the Secretary of State is black. You know, the Congressional Black Caucus is very powerful. Part of the reason for this is that the way black Americans took over the one draft rule and turned it to their own ends for mobilization and solidarity. Whereas in Brazil, they go on about their racial democracy. All they mean by that is that white men were going to bed with black women and not feeling guilty about it, and producing mixed kids whom they great beauty queens. But the system remained viciously unequal. Brazil is the most unequal society in the Western world, and blacks are completely at the bottom. So it's a pernicious system. It's apartheid without apartheid laws, and at the top it's thoroughly racist.
If contemporary democracies can be called racist, then it should come as no surprise that over 200 years ago, a very early democratic experiment in Sierra Leone went badly wrong. Freetown became the home of the black loyalists, ex-slaves who freed themselves by fighting for the British in the American War of Independence. But their freedom turned out to be very limited because of the dictates of their former British masters.
To some extent, what's interesting about Sierra Leone is how accidental the whole story is. These people, in a sense, have become refugees and have become British because they'd actually crossed the lines during the American Revolution to fight for the British. So in 1775, the British governor of Virginia said that if black people who were slaves would cross lines, would leave their plantations, leave the Americans, if you like, and fight for him, for the British, they'd win their freedom. But the British weren't committed in any deep way during the American Revolution to racial equality or even to emancipation. It was a strategic military move.
When this colony was established in 1787, it was meant to be a free colony. But for a variety of reasons, it didn't work that way. The problems with the colony inhabitants really came to the forefront with the arrival of the Nova Scotian settlers. These were blacks who had helped the British during the American War of Independence, and they had been promised some land in Nova Scotia. They were called the Black Loyalists. Many of the promises that the British made to them were never fulfilled.
The tragedy of Sierra Leone in the 1790s is the difficulty, the almost impossibility, I guess, for whites of letting black people run the colony. I mean, it was constantly run by or overseen by white people. And black people, I think, didn't think that's how it was going to work out. They imagined they'd have much, much more power and authority. They wouldn't just be electing constables, they'd be running the colony. And that didn't happen.
These Nova Scotian settlers that came here had all the resources that would enable them to govern themselves as an independent people. They had black pastors, they had black politicians who had mobilized them in Canada to move over to Sierra Leone. So they really had the human resource to be able to govern themselves as a free and independent people.
You have a view that emerges at the same time and fuels abolitionism, the claim that those who are not European or of European descent are historically immature by contrast with those who are European or European settlers. Europeans see themselves as having the obligation, the burden to civilize something that's still with us today. One sees it in relation to the invasion of Iraq, for example. We will come in and teach you how to govern yourselves because you haven't been able to govern yourselves hitherto.
It was really a great opportunity that was lost, because had these people been given the opportunity to govern themselves, it is possible that perhaps Sierra Leone would never have been colonized in the real sense of the word, and Sierra Leone could probably have been the first black African country to be free of colonial rule.
I believe there are a few events in my life which have not happened to many.
Olaudah Equiano, whose first slave name was Gustava Vasa, obtains his freedom in London and becomes a key figure in the abolitionist movement. His autobiography really becomes the transforming political document to the abolitionist movement.
Olaudah Equiano is just one of the great campaigners consigned to the margins of history. while William Wilberforce is represented as the all-conquering hero who abolished slavery. However, no matter which great abolitionists you choose, you will find even greater forces behind them. From the radical Christianity of the Quakers to the workers forming what would become the trades union movement.
The other thing about Equiano was he's the one who connected the artisans of the London Corresponding Society in 1792. He connected them with the steel workers, the coal miners, and the factory workers of Sheffield. And it was this conjunction of the industrial proletariat and the artisans of London, which historians have often seen as the beginning of the English working class as a whole. But it was Olaudah Equiano who had brought them together.
The period where you see the most solidarity between enslaved Africans and the white working class, in Britain anyway, I think were the early years of the abolition movement. Starting in the late 1780s, hundreds of thousands of Britons signed petitions to Parliament against the slave trade. And amazingly, a lot of these petitions came from workers. There were 769 metal workers in Sheffield who signed a remarkable petition to Parliament that said, in effect, you might expect us to be in favor of the slave trade because we sell a lot of the wares we make to the captains of...
Yeah. You know, say... It cut off the song. What a terrible thing. We could play the whole like one of them there, but it's kind of long. Kind of long. Believe you me, it's long. Okay, we're there with you now. Yeah, it's done unexpectedly. Anyway, this will have a play now. Well, I'm a virgin here, it's true now. This will have a play.
Shall speak of the wretched sea that washed ships to these shores, of mothers crying for their young, swallowed up by the sea. This poem shall say nothing new. This poem shall speak of time, time unlimited, time undefined. This poem shall call names like Lumumba, Kenyatta, Nkrumah, Hannibal, Akhenaton, Malcolm, Garvey, Haile Selassie. This poem is vexed about apartheid, racism, fascism, the Ku Klux Klan, riots in Brixton, Atlanta, Jim Jones. This poem is revolting against first world, second world, third world, division, man-made decision. This poem is like all the rest. This poem will not be amongst great literary works, will not be recited by poetry enthusiasts. It will not be quoted by politicians or men of religion. This poem is knives, bombs, guns, blood, fire, blazing for freedom. Yes, this poem is a drum, Ashanti, Ma, Igbo, Yoruba, Nyabingi warriors, Yohuro, Namibia, Yohuro Soweto, Yohuro Africa. This poem will not change things. This poem needs to be changed. This poem is a rebirth of a people, a rising, awakening, understanding. This poem is speaking, I've spoken. This poem shall continue even when poets have stopped writing. This poem shall survive, you, me. It shall linger in history, in your mind, in time, forever. This poem is time, only time will tell. This poem is still not written. This poem has no point. This poem is just a part of the story. His story, her story, our story. The story is still untold. This poem is now ringing, talking, irritating, making you want to stop it. But this poem will not stop. This poem is long, cannot be short. This poem cannot be tamed, cannot be blamed. The story is still not told about this poem. This poem is old, new. This poem was copied from the Bible, your prayer book, Playboy magazines, New York Times, Reader's Digest, the CIA files, the KGB files. This poem is no secret. This poem shall be called boring, stupid, senseless. This poem is watching you trying to make sense from this poem. is messing up your brains, making you want to stop listening to this poem. But you shall not stop listening to this poem. You need to know what will be said next in this poem. This poem shall disappoint you because this poem is to be continued in your mind,
Thought-provoking, always smoking. Lyrics like a bazooka. You are listening to Mutabaruka.
Check it. Yeah.
That was Lady Smith in a different style, you know. Before that, we played your truly this poem, you know, say, we just get a CD from Finland where them remix this poem again for about the 22nd time. Them remix that poem. Believe you me, the amount of version people send come give me. With ask them if them can do it over. Of course, I get pay feet, of course, do it over, yes. Do it over, man. From I tell you where I want, I say yes, do it, man. So, we want to take some call. And meanwhile, we are waiting for the call. We did in the beginning of the program, we did tell you about the three major religions, them. And how those three religions has caused more havoc on earth than any other kind of happening. Yes, the wars, them, and the rumors of war, nation and rising against nation. And even to now, we see, where you talk about Iraq and the war in Iraq, and now we see ISIL, and we see all the church, them, the Anglican and the Roman Catholic Church fight, and then we see World War start, and because people don't like that religion there, and all of them things there, all of the things them from them time there until now, where you find this idea that these three religions have one God with different name, but the whole of them father, the beginning, the genesis of them religion, come out of a man named Abraham. Yes. And the Torah, which is where you call the Jewish books, the Torah, where Christians presumptuously call the Old Testament. Because now them write a next book now named the New Testament, or them call the one the Old Testament. But guess what? Christianity could not have survived without the things them that is written in the Torah. Because a lot of what is written in the Torah, which has nothing to do with the interpretation that Christians give it. A lot of what was written in the Torah is used to justify the coming of the Christian God named Jesus Christ. If it wasn't for that Torah, the ideas that decide the fate of Christianity couldn't exist. Yet still, Christianity, Judaism, Islam is always at loggerheads with each other. It's weird. Because it is a Christian mind in 1492, it's a Christian mind that run out all the blacks and all the Jews them out of Granada. Yes. Because black people was there with Islam, calling themselves Moors, and the Jews was there, and if you're not with the paper say this Holy Father in the name of Jesus Christ, you can be beheaded, chop off your head, drown in the water. Just like what ISIL people them do now. What ISIL is doing now is what the Christian them used to do to people in Europe. So it's the same. It's like one father with three different heads. It's the same thing. What as gross and as terrible it might look to you right now in this modern time, where ISIL do right now in terms of them viciousness and cruelty is where Christians used to do in Europe in the 14th century, 15th century, in the 16th century, 17th century, come right up. So it's not like a different religion, even though it professes to be different. Because all of them have them outlet and them one ending. You understand? So we as African people now, who come here so now, and recognize these three religions is the cause of most of the destruction for earth right now. Why would a man get religious in them? It's just weird. It baffles me. Why would a man want to call himself, or a black person in this time, given where we go through here in the West here? When I talk about where Arab man that say, or where Egyptian or Ethiopian that say, because them people not go through where we as African people go through over here, so in the name of them religion there. Given where we go through over here, so why a man that want to call himself one of the names them of these religion that oppress for how much years? 400 years? Why would I want to really adopt it as a principle? I mean, when we look on how numb black people get when them get involved in this thinking. I mean, black people lose all perception of independent thinking and just free thought, and black people lose all sense of rational thinking, logical thinking when them adopt, especially the one where oppressed we have some more than all of them. Christianity will oppress black people and still oppress black people because you can't see it, Anytime a man anytime you start talk to a man about, as a matter of fact, Christian love talk to you about them God, you know. And when you start talking to them about for them God now, it's almost like it was a chop off neck business start. It's like it was a chop off neck thing. You understand? And it is always the idea that if you don't accept what them say, if you don't accept it, what will happen to you and your soul will go down in hell and the brimstone and fire and all them things. We have blood and brimstone and we have blood and fire and no water in Jamaica right now and I mean, just normally, it's a normal thing. What people experience is hell. In hell is what Jamaican people are experiencing normally every day. The place is scorched with fire, with no water to out the fire. You know, so, and no rain. I mean, and blood upon the street, them. Blood all over the street, them. You want more hell than that? I don't know if you can get more hell than that, you know. No water to out the fire and blood upon the street, them. And this is where them project away. Them project this something other than what is happening now and how we're going to rectify what is happening now, because tomorrow when we die, things will be better. Meanwhile, you're the white guy, I tell you, the white guy I say, look here man, black people, how you think we get to control the world? It's a thing named unity. Not uniformity, though, you know, unity. I can already tell you, first of all, I was told that most Jews don't believe in no God. Can you believe that? Well, I never believed it until I heard it from Jews. Most Jews is atheists. I mean, this is serious thing. You'd never know that. Then now you have the Christian people now. Most Christians believe say you have to dead for go to heaven and that there's a man that go bring and save them, take them away from all this and carry everybody down who don't believe in him in a death and brimstone and fire. And I mean, how can you perceive a thing like that being a human being in a logical, intelligent? How can you be an intelligent and logical person? Believing that there is some entity out there that is all powerful, all loving, we'll call it omnipresent, omniscient, benevolent, and all the omni where you want to find it. You actually believe in this power that is all of that, yet still, that power is going to take people who don't worship him. Because it's a worship thing, you know, if you don't worship me, I'm going to kill you. And put all of these people in a pit and boil them, burn them, skin and burn, and they must have burn forever, ever just like that. And then you have a set of people now who are going to fly up in the air, and then now they're going to live for much time and then come back down on the earth, and then the meat shall inherit the earth. Because a man or a child did disobey the parents, you must stone the child to death. You must stone the child to death. If the child does not obey the parents, the child must be taken into the city and be stoned to death. What kind of thinking is that? And people say, oh, them things, they are old-time things, you know, but no, it's a different thing. It's the same thinking. The same thinking. People, some people, a whole heap of people don't realize that homosexuality is a weird thing because them see it in the Bible. If they never see it in the Bible, it should have been just an ordinary thing to them. Most people who say homosexuality is terrible, it's because the Bible them I read. When you can observe life, human life in nature, and recognize this thing and say it's not natural. The Bible don't have to tell me that. They suppose the Bible never said. You're in a serious problem with your thinking. If you recognize something and can't justify something, we tell you say it wrong, where you say, you're going to just say, boy, right now, where you going to do? Where you going to do? And we recognize now, so as African people, we can't keep doing the same thing the same way all the while to get a different result. A white guy can't come here so now and come show you something in history and claim says history, but a film history, you know. But him want you now live out film history. Him want you conform to where him think is wrong and right and live out film history when your cultural expression don't define you that way. And anything where you do in your cultural expression, your ear says evil, is sin, is wickedness, is cruelty. And them reach as far as they say you was born in sin and shape in iniquity. And black people sit down there and repeat that every day. These religious beliefs in them lie and them fantasy and illusion give. And when the African them give it is madness. Look how long we are here about Brother Tiger, Brother Tukuma, Brother Nancy, and all them story there, and the golden stool in Africa. Me never know when Africa where people believe say actual spider attack the people, you know. But them have that as a story, and the story where them give you is a recognition of human behavior and practices. So it is more like what would I call an allegory. Now when these guys give a story, them not give it to say, why this is a mythological thing, you know. Them say, so it did go. And black people lose sight of them things in Africa and take up the European idea of things now and say, why is that your things our things are foolishness, you know, about spider attack. The spider can't attack, a foolishness. But them have snake attack in the Bible. Them have donkey attack in the Bible. Them have a man that throw down rod and it's a ton snake in the Bible. Them have bush attack to man. Hey, that's some madness. Them have bush attack to people, to a man. Them have a God who wipe out all the firstborn in our country, Egypt. Because him a secure for him people them. So in the beginning now, God who create heaven and earth and all things upon it now, select a little set of a group of little people. A group of nomads, him select them to come rule the earth now and say him for them chosen people them there. The same entity will make everything for earth. Choose a little group of people on the peripheral and say, you see them people there are my people, them are my chosen people them. I'm going to send my son to save the whole of them. That we're reading at the book. And snake attack to people, we read that in a book. Donkey attack, we read that in a book. Bush attack, we read that in a book. And if we ever start telling about some stories, African stories, in some book when we read. If we ever once start to tell them things, there's real thing. Like in a Yoruba tradition, you hear about the different gods and you hear about certain things that take place in Africa. If you ever talk about them things, you say, I'm mad, you're mad. Most of what you chat about. But no lion not talk Africa, man. I'm going to Walt Disney show lion talk. Right away, though, the Christian mind throw that with totally, lion can't talk. Foolishness. Only in a movie and cartoon, it's a lion attack. Yet till them believe that snake did attack. Them actually believe that donkey was talking. Them actually believe that bush, a burning bush attack to people or a person. It's a weird thing. Weird thing. You a fool because you say something attack in Africa. Brother Nancy come from Asante. Asante stories will tell you how man create, man determines things. And that's not that, no, you know. The weirdest thing about it, you know, when the Christian them say the hieroglyphics on the wall, when them see a man with a head of a bird, a hawk or something, and the body of a man, a devil business that right away, devil think that. And them don't know the symbolism, the idea that is around those level of consciousness. Them don't understand it. Them don't understand that the earth, the sun and the moon and all the stars them have a direct relationship with how things happen on earth. Man, human being behavior and human being intention have a connection with the earth, air and water, with the sun, the moon and the stars. There's a connection. The sea, the moon, full moon, dark night, all of them have a connection with earth, the planet. And you can see that, observe that through nature. You do a country and the man tell you, say, don't chop the bamboo on moonshine night because we've got to take it up and it's going to rotten easier. But they chop it at dark night. The man at Kingston marvel and wonder, where man say, how him know that? Him don't know that through science, him know that through experience. Him know that through experience, through trial and error. Him use the bamboo one time and say it get rotten. Him say, but you know, say every time me chop the bamboo at the same time, a moonshine because I want to see me a chop. And him chop it a moonshine because I'm so chop. And him realize that every time him chop the bamboo, it's the same time him always chop the bamboo. It's at the time them when him can't see. Him say, watch your man. I'm going to chop it on a dark night when I can't see. And both of them go chop it the dark night and them wait and them not say nothing, no weave like take out the bamboo. Him not see the bamboo will get rotten. And them start chop the bamboo them in the dark night and them realize, oh, I see where I go on. It's something with the moon have to do with the bamboo. And I experience teach wisdom and I saw him get the wisdom for don't chop the bamboo again in a bright night. And him start to observe now other things, other plant. And him look on the other plant them. And him say, okay, so we are going on now. When I do that, when I plant it certain time, this is what happened because I was always planting it that time and I was wondering, oh, come on, not getting no yield outside. And I realized, but there's certain time that it's better to plant and certain time we're not to plant. And that is because of the connection between earth, air and water, the earth, the moon, the sun and the stars. There's a connection. And that includes human behavior too. But when the African go into them something there, when the Dogon people them and the Ethiopian people them and the Kemetic people go into them something there now and realize how related them whole body is. Them bodies like a small version of the whole planet systems, galaxies and stars and moon. Maybe we just a little virus in the, just like how you have some little virus on the bottom of our foot where we know so we head there. But you know some virus down there in your body. Some little this and some little that way. Just a move independent and I go on like that, don't them alone exist. But when you move further, go up your foot to your body and thing. But so weird. This place is a massive place. Well, that's where it go. The African them, through experience and time, recognize certain things in the nature. Just like the Native American them. Just like the Aboriginal people them. Just like the Amerindian them. Them did observe nature and recognize nature. Nature give them food. When them say, in Egypt, when the Nile come down, and the God them just blood out the Nile too. Make a whole heap of frog and dead out in the Nile and pollute the water in the name of a group of people. It's a terrible story. Terrible story. But for those of us who get locked into these ideas and these concepts and these mythologies, we don't want to accept it. It's just a faith. It don't have nothing to do with nothing else more than what you have in your head. All of these concepts come out of man's head. Because if a man recognize Satan in an individual, or him can't recognize God in an individual, when the two of them is the same thing, but different kind. It's the same kind with two different faces. If you can accept, if you can say the devil is a man, why God can't be a man too? Because people say the Pope are the devil. 7 days say the Pope are the devil. Rasta come say the Pope are the devil too. If you can recognize that, say the Pope could have really be the devil, or the devil can be incarnated into a human being. In at this time, not 2,000 years ago. Why it's so far-fetched to say God exists in a human being? In a human being. So, black people, the white man tell you, the white man say, watch your man. How you can really make white people give something over years of years, and you see that's something they enslave you over the years, and you still latch upon it more than him. Meanwhile, him they are advanced, and I live happy, and I help him family. Him have food, clothes, and shelter for him family. And him have money can go here and there and there, and him still look happily, and now okay, we a man want to tell you about say, people who have money not happy. It's foolishness. Because you have, me see more unhappy people when they have no money than more people who are happy have money. Me say the majority of people in Jamaica are unhappy because they can't afford to feed them picnic, send them picnic at school, put shelter over them head. And the reason where a man want to give you now with a philosophy where oppress you every day is that don't worry, man, the Lord's who come. The Lord's who come. That is all the while. That is all the talking. Don't worry, man. This is just a temporary world, but you see when you die, your soul and this and this and that. Watch a man, when you move from with them foolishness there, black people, when you wake up. When you wake up and stop going like an idiot. 400 years, a man will tell you something. And when you look on something, it now get you better. And when you look on him a rule more people over and over with the same philosophy, where him not really accept and believe in her. The majority of Europeans don't believe in a God, according to polls with them take. Just like in a Japan too. If you go right across Europe, even though them say most of the European countries are Christian country, the majority of European country, as a matter of fact, the countries where don't accept the religion is the country them where you have less crime. That's weird, That's really deep, man. That's deep. The country them in Europe that don't give credence to religion is the country them have good economy, happy people, less crime, and all the things that we are searching for right now, where we can't get right now. But yet you hold on upon this Jesus thing. We hold on upon it to the point where now we are suffering and glad so we are suffer. Because when we suffer here, so there will be joy in heaven. White man heaven is a black man hell. Louis Farrakhan said that years ago. White man heaven is the black man hell. So when a man come now and him a hold on upon that, and for 400 years him a hold on upon that, and it now work for him. It now work for him ancestors. It now work for him. And it not look like it will work for him generation will come after him too. Because when him smap out the thing and him see IMF this, and him see the food I get higher and can't get no work and all them thing there, him still I tell you say, watch I know. You see where him not have no precedent for? There's no precedence of where him a say, Him just hold on it on faith. Because tomorrow will be better. And tomorrow is always not coming because your grandparents will live for tomorrow too. And your great-grandfather will live for tomorrow. And tomorrow never come. Meanwhile, the guy who oppress you now, him just say, all right, see religion, take this. Wow, worship Jesus, him soon come save you. Hey, watch out. go to church and this 10% of your earnings. All right, this and that. Are you there? You there a suffer. You know, fella say, black people are suffer. And then start love the suffering. That them can't tell the difference between suffering and you can't tell the difference between if I am a slave, I am not a slave. Because now you're no slave to the white man again, you're slave to him God. That is what you really are doing. You're enslaved not to the white man, but the white man God. That is what you're enslaved to now. And you don't recognize it because it don't come to you that way there. But shut your eye. Shut your eye, and if you be truthful, shut your eye and think on Jesus Christ and tell me if you see a man will look like your father in the picture. A black people may talk to. Shut your eye and think on Jesus. How you think Jesus would have look. And tell me truthfully if it's a black man come in front of your eye. This is the cutting edge, yes. Here.
Hello.
Yeah, blessed.
A whole long time though.
True, because I talk long time.
Yeah.
Like too much long talk.
No, but you know, it's a passion.
Yeah, a long time I hear you, man.
Yeah, man, I'm talking 24/7. You just have to listen more time and you hear more time.
But my program not 24/7.
No, in the spirit. But you know, set down the website.
You jump off out of the spirit quickly, man.
No, I'm always in the spirit.
Yeah,
all right. Man is a spiritual being that have a physical body.
Yeah, everybody
and a soul.
Yeah.
And it's a soul that go between the spirit and the physical.
So don't worry about the body because you will always have the spirit there.
The spirit is a zillion times bigger than your little finite body.
Yeah.
And when you dead, your spirit's still alive.
Yeah, that's what I hear all the while.
But hear this now. K-A-T, the first name.
Wait, let me ask you a question. Mm-hmm. I'll give you time, no worry yourself. But let me ask you now. Everybody knows spirit. Them body dead, but them spirit out there, that you say. So like Muta now, and Brian are beside me now, when the flesh go down, the spirit out there. And that you say?
No.
Well, tell me what you say.
The spirit, if you choose a particular alignment to the Creator and the Creator's laws, you don't have to be perfect, you know. You just say, Creator.
Yeah.
You go to heaven.
The spirit?
Yeah, the spirit go to heaven.
So body can't go to heaven?
No, you see.
All right, no, you're not to elaborate. But
but I want to elaborate.
Yeah.
Your body that the scientists come to refer to as your physical house that you live in is just a small extension of your spirit. Your body actually look a lot like how your spirit look.
But you're not answer me now. You see you go on your tangent and you still not answer me. May I ask you if your body can go to heaven?
The physical body, no.
Yeah, you ask your physical body. How much body you have?
You have the original body, which is the spirit.
You, all right, like Muta have an original body, which is the spirit.
Yes, and your physical body take on the shape.
Yeah, wait now, man. Brian, what's sit down beside me, yes or no? Him have a different body, which is his spirit.
Yes.
So your body is your body without a spirit, and your body is your body with the spirit.
Yeah, your body.
So your body is without spirit and with spirit.
Your body is just an extension of your spirit.
Your body is an extension of the spirit.
Yeah, so the finite manifestation of your spirit.
So by everybody with upon the earth, we said them are there forever, or them there before.
No, them are go when them dead. The physical body that we know, going to rotten, drop.
Yeah. And then the spiritual
and the original body celestial body. That are the farm that
where it going go?
If you make a choice, whichever choice you make, will determine whether you go to hell or heaven.
So where is hell now, geographically?
Hell?
Yeah, where is the hell that this spiritual body going to go if you make the wrong choice?
It is in the spirit realm.
So the wrong choice now is not accepting Jesus Christ as your personal savior.
The original name is Yeshua.
All right, Yeshua Ben Joseph, Yeshua Hamashiach.
No.
Yeshua Hamashiach. Yeah, all right. If you don't accept Yeshua as your personal savior, that spirit, that extension of the body spirit, going to go to hell.
Yeah, the same thing will happen to Satan, will happen to you.
So may I ask, where is that hell?
In the spirit realm. And
where?
I think most times this is referred to in the second heaven. Because you have the
but
first,
where is that? Where is that? Where is that?
In the spirit realm.
Yeah, but you say in the spirit realm, that means means something other than that. They're in there,
Pause.
If you say
no, pause. Let me teach you, because you're a dragon, and a dragon is normally very firm in his understanding. Let me explain.
Miss a rat too.
Hey, listen.
Yeah.
Because you're a learned.
A Chinese matter about. A Chinese philosophy matter about.
No. Yeah, true that. Listen, because you're an intellect.
No, but wait a minute, a dragon, a Chinese philosophy matter.
Yeah, man, you're a dragon.
No, me explain to Brian, because I don't understand.
You don't understand. No worry himself, man.
No, him have to worry, because when he say dragon, no, he say you talk like, the brother called me devil the other day.
No.
So I have to explain to him, say dragon is, if you're going a Chinese philosophy now.
Right, I'm going to use simple analogy so that people can follow.
Yeah, that Brian can follow.
Yeah. You are in the biggest studio in the Caribbean, IRFM, right now, speaking on a microphone that is transmitting all over the planet. Yeah? People in Jamaica, Caribbean, and the world, I hear you.
Yeah.
The energy that comes out of your mouth goes into the microphone. It's another form of energy, which converts into a form of energy where you can't see, which goes across the airwaves, goes to the different receptors, the different transmission receiving antennas, and then people
hear it.
The energy, when it goes into the atmosphere, cannot be seen.
Yeah.
But it is real. Just like lightning and thunder.
But you can't use one of your senses and detect it.
No,
the human being can use one of them senses. It's different from you say you can't see God.
No.
You can't hear. The hearing, what go through the microphone is you can't see, but it exists. But in the existing of it, one of your senses pick up that thing. So there's a point in time when people tell you about this divine place in heaven, when none of your senses can pick it up.
No, but this is why I give you some websites a while ago.
No, not tell me about no website. I'm here to talk, man. Not tell me about no website.
No, we'll be talking, but we're going to still point to that. So when you have your spirit time...
wait there. No, me have the spirit time now. What I am saying to you, Christians, included that here where you say so now, always say, tell me something. You can't see pain?
Yes,
they say no.
No, that's the finite mind at all.
Yeah,
the infinite mind will tell you yes.
All right. The breeze a blow, you can't see the breeze?
Yes, you can.
You can't see breeze?
Yeah, the things of the spirit are spiritually discerned.
No, wait no man. I tell you what the Christian always say.
Yeah.
No, when them say you can't see these things, they must say no, it's same way God is. You know say God there. But you don't, not because you can't see it. It don't mean it don't exist. That is what the Christian are used for,
That part of it is true.
Yeah, but I have said to you now that your five senses, one of your senses detect my voice.
Yes.
In the microphone, we transform, the energy transform, but it can't change.
Yes.
Right? So energy is moving in the microphone, and the microphone is the energy is transformed in such a way that the human being in this body can pick up that energy and hear something outside. I tell you, say, the energy that way you are claim God is a mind thing that is you create that in your head. Based upon a concept where you have before you born or when you born.
Tell you, say, I tell you, say, you're totally wrong. Without apology.
Tell me, me totally wrong. Explain to me. A
lot of what you used a while ago is man-made scientific information.
No, and now,
point.
All right, may I ask you a question?
Hold on, there's finite. Listen, Muta.
Yeah.
Back in 1997, we buck up in your book.
No, just talk what we are talking about. No, man, I get a chance to talk. Not about in 1997. What you say a while ago about finite?
You have the finite.
Yes.
And the infinite. The five senses that we refer to, the human existence in the human body operates mainly in the finite, measurable realm of the human atmosphere.
Right.
So smell.
So who experience the infinite? All right. How does a human being? All right. Two things. How does a human being experience the infinite, and also how does a human being know that the infinite exists as a human being?
When the human being reduce the focus on the materialistic, finite things and go back into himself and meditate and reach out to the infinity, which is the Almighty, then you begin to purify yourself from all of the atrocities of sin and negativity.
So who in the world do that? Who in the world do that?
Who go back to the Father?
No, wait no man. You see, I try to get a long time that we can explain out this thing between one another, you know.
Yeah, I try to break
you tell me about a place in the infinite.
Yes.
Which is heaven.
Which is the spiritual.
Hell is to you is the infinite spiritual realm that people like me will go. And heaven is an infinite spiritual realm where other people go who call themselves Christian, who accept Yahshua. Yep. If you don't accept Yahshua, you're going to go in the other realm.
Along with Satan.
And I ask you now, where is that other realm? And you say it in the infinite realm. Oh, you know in this finite realm, know what will take place and where that finite realm is. Oh, you know that.
When you go within your meditation.
Okay. So all of them things are just in your mind then?
No. Your mind is an intermediary between this infinite and the finite.
You come to that. You come to that through what? Through experiment? Through
No.
You come to it. You come to it through your environment where you live in and what you were fed. That is how you come to it. Because if you was in China, you'd never think that.
No, there are people in China thinking that.
No, I say if me not about people in China who are thinking. Me say if you did in China, you would not think it. The people in China never did there, so. Them over there, so I think that I said you did there China, you wouldn't think it. And the argument that you have about infinite and finite, you can't know that in the finite. You can't know that in the finite. You have to go in the infinite to go know what is in the infinite. According to you, the finite person cannot understand the realms of the infinite. So I don't know how.
No, I never said that the finite person cannot.
The finite person.
When the finite person allows his infinite, which is his spirit, to rule him.
No, but I just asked, how it works, and you say you have to dead.
No, I never say you have to death to do that.
No, I said it's only in death. The body, the finite body. It's only in the death of the finite body that the infinite realms will be manifested.
No.
It can't manifest.
It can manifest even now.
So you tell me now.
I'll give an example. Hold on.
Yeah.
You ever go to Gambia?
Yes.
South Africa?
Yeah. What,
give me a description of a place you went to in South Africa.
What do you mean
description? Within 1 minute or less.
Look, go there, Mr. Beach, black people upon the beach.
Right. You see, in a blink of a second.
Yeah.
Your mind is beginning to go closer to what the infinite
Brethren, where you get them irrational foolishness from, Brethren?
No, but you see, you just did it.
No, but it's irrational. So where you tell me now?
Right, so that question. Can you stay here and send out a thought and somebody say, some more time if you say, didn't link me. I'm just
all the while that happen.
That's a glimpse of the infinite.
No, that's a foolishness. That is man way for rationalize something where he want, think, him believe, him understand.
How
you is rationalize something. You rationalizing something where you use your finite logics to come to a conclusion about something that you keep saying is infinite.
And that is why the Word of God says that the things of the Spirit
the Word of God said nothing. The Word of God said nothing.
Spiritually discerned, it appears as to foolishness unto the mind of
God said, no, I never said foolishness, I said.
No, I never say you. I said the Word of God says the things of God, the things of the Spirit are spiritually discerned and they appear as foolishness unto man.
Yeah, but I never said
just God. Just like what you just.
No, I said what you are saying. I never said what God said is wrong. I said what you are saying.
Yeah, but is the same thing what the Bible says?
No, the Bible don't tell me say my finite body is going to discern what my infinite realms will be in terms of who they are hell and who they are heaven? How you know that?
Let me remove the word finite and infinite. We have said spirit versus.
Yeah, this is the question. You know, so the brethren either hang up on phone. I know so the man and I have no credit phone at work, you know, so it's either I'm hang up because they are them too long or whatsoever. But this thing of knowing, I just want to explain, say, you see, when a man tell you, say, when you ask him about the infinite, when you ask a man about what happening at the realms, about heaven and hell, him don't know, you know. So you know what him don't know, him don't know, him go to a book. Him go to a book for rationalize and justify what he must say. That means him in himself lose all semblance of logics or rational, you know, because if him don't use the book, him intentions is just a belief. Him have to use the book to justify this belief system, not in a human rationality. Because in the Christian religion, it tells you you can't understand the realms of God. You're just a mere man, which is that him I bring to me, you know, when I say irrational man versus, infinite man versus finite man. Him claim to know what's happening in the infinite world because of a book that was given to him. A book given to him by him don't know who. Rationalize it. And then the same book come tell him, say, watch out. You have to understand, say, it's God's word that I rectify and I justify what happened to you after you're dead. It's God that tell you that, you know. So you can't use no other logic, no human thinking. You can't use nothing where God give you according to the thing. There's nothing that God give you can use to rectify the realms of God. You have to go in our book. Go find it out. Yes, EL.
Yeah, man. Alabama.
That means say, homosexuality, most people who accept or don't accept homosexuality, if it wasn't the Bible, they wouldn't see it as something out of the way. You think, and the Bible come show me that? And the Bible come show me that? I sit down in a potose bush, come figure out that in my head. Because when me and you don't know nothing about homosexuality, and when me grow big, I mean, know say you have something in homosexuality, and a bush me go figure it out in my head, and then the Bible come show me that. You know, see it? And most Jamaican, that them use to justify them anti-gay sentiments, not looking upon the experience of life, and will life teach you in terms of how human beings react to people, place, and things. Yes, Alabama.
Yeah, man. Oh, God.
You know, say your phone bill turn up, so we can't talk as long as we want to talk.
Give thanks, man, for Brian Link, you know. All I have is easy, you know. Hey, all I have want a mango tree and a stone and a stone and a whole day. And then when you do...
I know him that. I know, man. I know all about that, man.
I know all about...
No, man. Which all about, man? That virgin you called me long before all about, man. That virgin you when me and him talk a while ago. All about don't know what that brother you know. Watch your man. All about that brother know what that brother you know, man. All about idiot to them, man. When me talk to a while ago. Believe you. No, me I tell the truth. All about don't know nothing. Yeah, so. Him just know say I'm a Christian and him not like gay. Because that people come to me and talk to me about.
Yeah. So it's a snake attack, bush attack, donkey attack.
Yeah, and you know, me must accept that because it's in the Bible and the Bible is the word of God. Me must use my intelligence, my knowledge, according to them, my God-given brains. Human beings, the difference between what them call higher animal and the lower animal is that one is given a brain that he can figure out good, bad, wrong, right. He can figure out these things. He can have intelligence. You know, see, the animals, the lower animals, don't come with a certain kind of intelligence. Human beings have a unique kind of intelligence. And the way of it.
They said they have more God force than them.
Yeah, but a man must give up that. If you understand God, you have to give up your man, your humanness. Where you supposedly use in your head. You have to give up that. And go and turn to a book. Okay. For justify my brains. My brains, Rasta? No, sir.
You know, see, remember the other day, little experiment me try when me take a couple people and me say, boy, you know, say, the guy is do one is like, the snake attack to me. And everybody I say, yeah, man, no, man, you're crazy. And I say, thank you. So, but they ask and turn around.
I'm true that.
You remember?
You tell them that snake attack to you. And them say, you're crazy.
And everybody has them in my soul.
And then all them have a snake attack to them in the book, because it's in the book. You don't understand how this Christian thing works. This Christian thing work with a book, you know. It have a book. The human mind cannot operate in the realms of God. So God have to give them a book. And in that book now, them will see what God has said from where God now say.
Because if you need a book to tell us if you love your neighbor, I mean, you really have a serious problem.
Of course, you have a serious problem.
The bird, when he move in nest and he get him something them and weave in nest, he not read no book. He no want a book to tell him to do that. Certain things just in our DNA.
But that's why I cannot understand somebody who eat meat. Me not talk about meat now as a health thing, you know. Me meat as a justification for life. You know, a cow, you eat a cow, a goat, or a pig, or whatsoever you eat as an animal. I still and I cannot understand. Well, I understand it still, you know. I don't know how a man could have really, or a woman could have really gone in the realms of the Almighty, in the essence and the pureness of that fullness, and still I eat meat. It's the most ridiculous idea and concept I see.
You confront it daily, because we tell a man to eat meat. The first thing after we get a protein.
A religion tell them that a religion do that, you know.
Yeah.
A religion I decide where them feet or where them no feet. You think
I said them, we can't eat something I black up my arches and I black up my...
Brethren, let me tell you something, man. You think say a religion can't come tell me say me must eat pork or don't eat pork? No, Rasta.
Religion and all this say, the key religion and Judaism, Islam, Christianity. The world is not a problem I know, but all many people have this religion. It's like how you take a pill. When you take a pill, it not solve the problem that cause the headache. You know, it does make you...
Yeah, easier. It eases the pain.
Comfort. Yeah.
It eases
temporary comfort. But the problem still there, so you next year again, you come back and you go and take the pill again, so you find out that...
You get addicted to the pill. You get addicted to something feedback on you there.
Yeah. Are you better now?
Yeah. No, I say you get addicted to the pill to the point where now you start to preach about the pill. You start to talk about, say, you see that pill here, if you don't take that pill here, where now go happen, where going to happen?
Yeah, and when you read, can you see, really, to be really spiritual, you know, it's a serious thing, you know, like, if religion is an easy way out, you know, like a lazy way out, to put, the thing outside of yourself. But if it's really discipline and just on a level spiritual is a hard job, you know, so you find out the religion kind of easier, so man just jump in it and...
Alright, we're going to take a last call, yeah, Bridget. We're going to take a last call, yeah? Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah, blessed.
You fix up your phone, man.
You fix up?
I don't scandal me next time about my credit card, boss.
No, you never hear me say, no.
You better communicate with the spirit. You know,
no, wait there. You know,
say, my credit infinite, you know.
You know, say, you never hear me say. Me say, a man like you.
Studio, cut off the call when
no, wait no man. Me say, a man like you could have never have a phone where I have credit. And that me just say, no. Me say, you say a man like you couldn't have a credit phone where
yes, but me clarify for the listeners, say. Me that they are whole, when you put up on hold, and then me only hear the phone just cut, like somebody in the system just cut the call.
No, man, nobody in the system no cut the call.
No, you can have some little poor technology. Forget phone.
No word about the technology or so on.
No, because me a hold and me say hello, me only hear the call cut.
Yeah.
Right after
it's happening all the while. It's happening all the while. Nobody, me never want you get cut. Brian never want you get cut because everybody has.
No, man, I say Brian.
Neither they have
no technology, man.
Yeah, me must.
You see, if you did not communicate in the spirit now, you wouldn't have said them things about my phone.
Yeah. Anyway, where did I say now? Because
what did I say?
It's complicated.
What did I say?
Yeah.
Simple.
Yeah.
First of all,
if you understand, if you understand, I can tell you where this stop. I can tell you where this stop. You stop where, you listen, man. You listen. You was talking about in the infinite world, the only way you can understand it is through the infinite spirit. And all you want to justify the infinite spirit, it's through the Bible. That is
a lot of the things that I talked to you about is after the fact that the Bible now connect the dots. So you can leave the Bible out for a while.
But are you not about the Bible?
They ask me, how me know these things?
Are you saying the Bible?
No, the Bible eventually can be used to point out, yes, that and that add up. But you take the Bible outside for the first instance and you go to your actual experience.
Yeah, but you never hear me just tell you, say, the experience of the countryman when him said no dark, no red name there. It's a trial and error thing him use. When him, because him did always cut the bamboo in a moonshine.
And all of those are just glimpses of the spirit realm. Where the
spirit realm
like even when you go to the mountains and learn certain things.
Stop talking foolishness, man. What does happen in the spirit realms?
The spirit realm
is an observation by the human. No, it's an observation by the human, man.
Yeah, but the observation is observing things of the spirit which is manifested in the physical.
It don't have nothing to do with no spirit, man.
Brethren, you don't have a spirit.
What I say, it don't have nothing to do. The countryman who is observing the bamboo, he is observing the bamboo rattening because every month at the same time he go cut the bamboo, and it's the time when he go cut the bamboo.
Let me teach you again, and the youth are just calling name Malaba. Let me teach you everything in the earth, whether bamboo, stone, whether sun, moon, star.
Here I say have no spirit. Here I say never have no spirit.
Everything is a spirit.
I didn't tell you say everything now have no spirit.
You tell me say no, you know nothing to do with the spirit.
I said when the man observed you have nothing to do with the spirit.
Everything is first spirit, and it comes after. The manifestation comes after the spirit.
Brethren, I never say everything now is all stone of spirit. I have said to you that the observation of the bamboo has nothing to do with an infinite world. It has something to do with the finite man observing in an finite world that when the moon, which is finite, shine, the bamboo don't get rotten. The bamboo get rotten because every time him dig the bamboo at that same side, that is when it's rotten. And him go choose one night when it's dark and it don't rotten. That has nothing to do with spirit.
How the stone come about?
You ask me how stone come about. How you reach that stone? Me I talk about finite and infinite how stone. How
the bamboo come about?
Brethren, you ask for them foolishness, man.
Let me
how stone come about.
Hold on a moment.
Alright, tell me how stone come about.
You say like how me listen to you.
Alright, tell me how the stone come about.
Even if you think of foolishness, me talk.
Yeah, but tell me how
listen to me.
Tell me how the stone come about. How the stone come about.
When you look around the environment that you live in, anything that you see that you can physically measure, like the bamboo or the stone, you're looking at it from the manifested energy point.
But I don't still say life.
Hold on. Everything.
Where you repeat that for? I accept that already.
So everything, if you're to look at it through the eyes of the spirit, you look at it in spiritual.
But I cannot look at everything through the spirit because something is physical.
What are you talking about, Bridget?
Brethren,
all the
stone come about. All stone come about.
Everything birthed.
All stone come about. All stone come about.
Starting at the spirit. It's conceptualized by the Creator.
Which Creator has conceptualized stone?
The Almighty.
Oh, you know that. Oh, you know that. Oh, you know that.
Them not tell me. Them show me these things.
Who show you this thing?
The Almighty, the man who.
By what means?
It's not even a man. It's both man, woman, animate, inanimate. The Almighty, the origin of all origin.
By what means him show you? By what means? When you say him talk to you, by what means? What language him use? What means?
You know him can talk without even opening his mouth.
By what means him talk to you? By what means?
Infinite, everlasting knowledge is the man which is above our level. He can communicate to you right now. You can look around and don't see nobody and hear something I talk to you.
That a foolishness that. If something run behind me and talk to me, I must somebody.
You're going to understand this.
There's no spirit can talk to me. No spirit. If I hear a voice behind me, it's somebody attack to me. There's no way somebody I going to hear a voice attack. Muta, what you say? And when it's not a body.
Question asking. In the entire
that is intellectual
days, in the entire 60 days, you ever hear your name a call and look when you see nobody yet?
It don't mean that somebody not there. It don't mean I don't see them. You know, this what me I say. I answer it. I say
no, you're not answering.
It don't mean that somebody's not there. It means that I didn't see somebody who called me.
No, you never dig in the bush by yourself with a hear your voice, your name a call and you look when you see nobody.
You know, you know hear what me say? Me say, if somebody call me in the bush and I hear it and I don't see them, it don't mean that not somebody I call me. It just means I don't see somebody.
So the answer is yes. You have heard the name I call and you don't see nobody.
Spirit cannot call me.
What?
No spirit can call me. It's human being have to call me.
We're not talking dopey, so I don't want to get it wrong. Me talk,
anything about dopey. You hear me say anything about dopey?
Okay, me just want to make it clear.
No, but you never say about dopey. Me say, if I hear a voice say, Mutabaruka, bring some of your yam, come give me now. And I turn around and I don't see somebody.
No,
I tell you, say,
Muta,
yeah.
Why are you persecuting my servants?
Yeah, you know, I go turn around and say, brethren, and tell him too bad word. That is what I'm going to do. Because I know say most somebody and tell me that. As some little insecure person, we don't like how me talk on the radio. I say that behind me.
You see, when you
Spirit can't talk.
When you
because it's only human being talk and something with mouth. Spirit cannot talk.
Right. The program
a bush cannot talk.
Hold on.
Donkey cannot talk.
Muta, I'm not really come for debate. Because anything
the
that...
The program supposed to done. You're done, you're gone over the time.
Cat down on
there, look for me.
K-A-T, first name, K-E-R-R.
What that? Cat car?
Yeah.
What that have to do with what?
No, in any time, check it out. Next time we talk, check it out.
No, I'm not talking to you for years, man. I years me talk.
No. You say...
I know years me talk to you.
Me never call the program for have any debate because God is God. If God wants to convert you...
No, but you see, I not complain about God, you know. It's you I complain about an irrational thinking want to have when you know all upon this Christian thing.
No, but I am not here to debate.
Yeah, but
I'm not here to say you're wrong. I'm not here to say I am right.
No, you're saying right because you say if you don't believe in Jesus, Yahshua, our infinite body go and go to hell. And I ask you which part hell there, you can't tell me where hell there.
And another correction.
Hell and heaven in your mind. It's not there nowhere else. Hell and heaven is in your mind.
All right.
Trust me.
The other thing is
there's no physical hell where there's somewhere where when you dead, somebody's spirit are going to go there. And there's no physical heaven that when you dead, because you believe in a Jesus, you're going to go over there. So nothing like that don't exist. That thing is where white people tell you.
We're reading about that another time.
Anyway, we're gone because my boy is long as with him jaw. I hold on for him jaw like him have mums.
What that?
Wave him again. Me and Chicks long as I hold on for him jaw like what's biting for him face.
Alright, so we'll talk another time. But check out the website there. I'm wondering if you understand, say.
No, you know, my life no based off a website, you know. You understand? So me not go guarantee I tell you say me go watch it, you know. Because I tell you say me are raised with a human being and so.
Oh, you have to documentary on the radio.
Yeah, because people like you out there. You know, you me always say take where you want, take where you throw outside.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, me just say take if me play it. Some people don't reach a level, they will take a certain part, right? Some people and them say the other part are foolish. And that means they don't take where you want to control where you want to.
To you. You say you get the truth. And you say when they get the truth.
Oh, so me don't know the truth. Me don't know the truth.
Blessed love.
Yeah, all right, sir. Yes. Yeah. We're going over the man time. Sorry, sir. Sorry, at midnight. Anything is possible. Trust me. You know, little more from this. We want to say, Stepping Razor, the art of war. We're there with you from 2 to 5:45. Understand? Different program, totally different program. We can do that. We got, you know. Yes. Give thanks to Brian, give thanks to Monique, give thanks to Me Hungry.
Oh,